All right, welcome to the Soscast, episode 60. This is where finance meets romance, only here on Valuetainment, the #1 channel on the planet for entrepreneurs. My name is Adam Sosnick, and I'm here to help you men improve your status, your financial status, your relationship status. I want to see you win in life. Nat, what do we always say? I want to see you get paid, laid, and do it your way. And speaking of getting paid and laid and doing it your way, we got an expert panel in the house. They're going to tell you how to handle your money, how to handle your relationships, how to handle your man, how to handle your woman. You know, Coach, you're gonna let these people know today.
We're gonna give them the real.
We're gonna give them the real stuff today.
Yeah.
If you have not subscribed to Valuetainment, go ahead and subscribe right now. Let's get this party started. So let me introduce our panel today because I've been told, don't spend too long on introductions. Get into the meat and juicy stuff. But I said, we got to know our guest, y'all.
Yes.
So anyway, with that being said, Coach Gret Adams, this is your first time on the show. Hafiz has been on the show. Aly's been on the show. But Coach, let me understand this correctly. You're a speaker of truth from what I hear.
The speaker of the truth. I'm the Bruce Wayne of this, and don't forget, I'm the king of content and the space. Okay. That's what you have to remember.
There
yes,
it is.
Yes, yes.
So you're also an author of The Free Agent Lifestyle, amongst other books, correct?
Other books, The Evolution, and 52 Things That All Men Should Consider Prior to Marriage. That's a long title, but it's called 52 Things.
Right, and the reason they call you Coach, like I think it was Myron from Fresh and Fit. I believe he once described you as a defensive coordinator, as a strategy to protect men from women out there.
I'm also the Buddy Ryan of this. I'm on the defensive side of the ball. But,
gotcha.
But I am the coach. I was a coach by profession at one point.
What did you coach exactly?
Women's basketball. This is why I know so much about women. I've traveled with women, flew, hotels, all of that. I spent time with a lot of women. And before you get started here, this kind of what leads me into knowing a lot of what goes on behind the curtain.
Gotcha. We're going to revisit that. These WNBA type women out there. Are they really women? Well,
that'd be a good story.
We'll get into that. And then our friend Hafiz here from the Roommates. You know him, you love him. He hosts a hot podcast called The Roommates with what's your partner?
Chris Bilo.
I haven't really spent time with Chris, but I spent a lot of time with Hafiz.
Yeah.
You also own a men's debonair clothing company called The Standard.
Yes, sir.
And if I could summarize you just want to help men improve in life.
100%. 100%. Yeah. No, I'm excited about being here. I gotta be a little closer to the microphone, and also you're really loud in my microphone. Loud in my headset. Because if you guys can take Adam down a little bit,
turn me down.
You guys are killing me.
Okay.
But nah, of course, man. I think to me the biggest thing that I'm really consumed with in this space is I feel as though there's a lack of actual quality advice. I think there's a lot of people who make content to make money. And that content may or may not be benefiting men in the long run. And so to me, I want to genuinely see lives transformed. And that's what we're excited about. That's what we're excited about with The Standard. Actually seeing men's lives transform. It's not just about a bunch of characters on the internet sharing their ideas. It's actual real human beings that you're seeing their lives actually improve, actually become better. And so to me, that's what I'm excited about the most.
Sick, brother. And we spent some time last time in Miami. He had 50 suave-looking gentlemen in the club. We were at my bar, Bodega in South Beach.
Of course.
Came through. It was great. I mean, like when you're talking about, don't talk about it, be about it. You were with a crew of men that were all representing, let's just say it like that.
Of course.
And then Aly, you know her, you love her, you've seen her, wife, mother. Interesting story here. Former ICU nurse turned OnlyFans superstar. Proudly.
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with it. I get a lot of hate for it, but I'm very comfortable with it. And I've done a lot more since just propelling my OnlyFans career. I also am the CEO of Wet Space, which is an crypto adult platform. And so there's a lot of things that I'm doing now that are vastly different than where I was. Obviously, 2 years ago, I was a suburban hockey mom. And so this is all new territory for me, but I feel like, I wear it proud, and I'm kind of a different, fresh alternative face to the industry, and I think people will be quite surprised with my past and my education and just kind of where I've come from.
Yeah, I think you have a lot of advice for women out there and for men as well. So I know we're going to share some of that today. You need to come through? Okay, all good. Natalia in the house. She's always here.
Hello.
You love her. You've seen her. You want her. People are DMing. People are DMing me. What's up, bro? Hook me up with Natalia. What's the deal? I can't go that far. Nat, fill us in on what you got going on, and let's introduce, and then we'll meet our panel officially.
Well, I first want to say welcome, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. It's a beautiful Thursday here in this rainy Florida, down south. But make sure you guys have your pens, your notebooks, and everything ready to go. We have a really great lineup today, and I think it's going to be a lot of value given. And of course, if you're not already, make sure you guys subscribe, like, comment, and share, because this is about to get real feisty.
About to get feisty. Oh, wow. It's like a prelude right there. So, and real quick, in 30 seconds or less, if you would just give us your relationship status and how you make your money. Again, we talk relationships and money, finance and romance. So relationship status and how you make your money. Ladies first, go ahead.
Yes, I am a wife. I've been married for 21 years. I have 3 children, and I make my money through adult entertainment as well as through my other business endeavors, through Wet Space and running my own companies. Yeah.
Got it. Hafiz.
Yeah, so married and make my primary revenue through the Roommates podcast.
And I didn't know. I thought you had a girlfriend. You're married.
Yeah.
Okay. How long you been married for?
About a year.
Okay, so this is all new.
Yeah,
this is why this coming. So congratulations,
Thank you
bro.
so much. Appreciate it.
I didn't even know. I didn't catch an invite. Nothing. Coach, go ahead.
And I'm single, bachelor, well, divorcee, and I make money through YouTube content and then coaching, book sales, and so forth and so on.
Got it. So divorcee.
Divorcee.
All right, so that's where we'll start this conversation, because I've seen a ton of your content online, and I appreciate a lot of it. I really do.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you talk about, you don't date, right? You talk about, there's a lot of stuff you talk about, but just real quick, how long were you married? How long you been single now?
Married for almost about 9 years. It was just short of 9 years. I got out before the valuable 10-year clock in California, which would have been very deadly for me, so I got out right in time.
Financially speaking, that's where basically you get screwed.
You
10
get
years?
screwed over at the 10-year and 1 day mark. So I actually saw the light, and I was gifted an opportunity to leave that union. So it was actually fantastic. Yeah.
And how long you been single now?
Since it's been about a decade. So
okay, gotcha.
I've been in these streets for about a decade. Yeah.
In these streets. And how old are you now?
46.
46.
Yep.
Okay. Well, because you got the young face and the great beard.
People don't know, man. People all of a sudden, they come on and they're like, look at this 57-year-old. And then I have other people say I look 32 if I shaved it. I don't care.
That's the whole thing. Is
I always tell people, look at my chocolate skin. That's going to tell you how old somebody is.
If I look at your face, I'm thinking 36.
Right.
Looking at your beard, I'm thinking 119. I don't know, brother.
Hey, man, that comes from, this comes from almost a decade of marriage.
Exactly.
And a couple of years of divorce. So that's what's going to happen from there.
Well, respect. Yeah. Well, because I've been watching so much of your content, I want to start right where basically when I first heard this, I was like, who said that? And then they said it was you. It was something called protecting your meat. Have you heard about this? Protecting your meat. And meat standing for your money, your energy, your attention, and your time. And basically you've said that all relationships are transactional and that meat is the value that you're given to women. So break down what this meat is and how can men protect their meat.
Well, the funny thing, when you use that phrase, protect your meat, obviously people are going to think, what? You know
exactly.
what I mean? But I try to use that as a metaphor to say, try to show men where your value is. A lot of times people will give men an idea, there's other things that are included in this, but it all boils down to, especially when you get to a point of marriage, what is your meat, your energy that you're going to put in? Typically, men give energy to women. Women pretty much they don't reciprocate that back. I've never seen many men that spend a significant time with women and then come out energized, even in the bedroom. Most of the time, they're going to probably fall asleep within 15 minutes. But in terms of attention, if you remove any of these things, if you remove these things, you lose the marriage, right? Time is a significant value for men. And matter of fact, we call it, and also Napoleon Hill calls it, your most important asset. And many men will spend hours on end pursuing relationships, obtaining relationships, keeping the relationship alive, and then many times they will lose the relationship if they stop giving the time. Now, the money part of it, everybody knows it's all transactional. You know, you've had girlfriends, you've tried to pursue women, you're going to give up money. Now, it's not a bad thing that the relationships are transactional. So when I say relationships are transactional, it's not a complaint. Many people think it's a complaint, but it's just a reality, and we have to accept that reality.
Gotcha. Have you? So you've never seen Coach's content ever? Really?
I'm aware of almost everybody in the space, kind of where Coach is at. A lot of people I may have heard ideas from other people, but I don't think I've actually sat down and watched anything from like online. I may have seen like videos or like reactions to certain people, but I've never actually sat down and said, okay, let me sit down and hear him. from my memory. It may have occurred in the past, but from my memory, I can't like quote ideologies or philosophies that he holds currently.
But when you hear someone say, all right, protect your meat, and you're hearing him break that down, what's the first thing that comes to mind to you?
It sounds good. You know, like I think everyone should protect their money. Everyone should protect their time. Right? Like, I think that sounds good. It's just, how is that fleshed out? That's what I'm curious about, right? Because I think sometimes what I love about what you do so much, Adam, and I have to shout out what you're doing, is that you bring in people from different sides. You know, I'm really interested in, you know, hearing more about your life. I think it's an interesting dynamic, mom and OnlyFans. Were you the one who sat down with Ruslan?
I was.
Okay,
I loved the conversation.
So I love what you do, Adam, because what you do is you provide an opportunity from different people to hear a myriad of ideas. I feel like a lot of times people on the internet sit in these silos of just one type of content, one type of information. And so to me, I'm very interested in hearing all the unique different ideas so that the men can sit down and choose what is actually the best. What is actually going to tangibly improve people's lives. Because to me, that's all that matters. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's from me or Greg or Adam or Aly. If the information makes you a better man, makes you a better father, you may not feel this way, but makes you a better husband, if it makes you better, that's a win. I don't care who it comes from. And so I love the ability of unique ideas to being able to be discussed today, and I just hope the best idea always wins.
I love that. And here's what I'll say, and I appreciate that, Hafiz. I'm not an ideologue, okay? I'm a person who I'm more of an arbiter of conversation, an arbiter of truth, an arbiter of dialogue. I want people to have conversations, and sometimes they might be uncomfortable conversations. Sometimes they might say, you know what, coach, you ain't no shit, in the audience right there. And the Hafiz, man, bro, I got to tell you, respect, bro, but you're an idiot, bro. Or Aly, you're gorgeous, but you shouldn't be doing this. Or all good. Everyone, different strokes for different folks. But at the end of the day, what we want is the audience to get clear on what they want in life. That's why we say we want to get you paid, laid, and do it your way. It's your one life. I don't want you to have to live a life that's not yours. Okay? And there's so many people walking on eggshells these days, and there's so many people that are just basically trying to transform what they should say or shouldn't say. And on a show like this, it's like, just do you.
And to be fair, to your point here, a lot of men are kind of pushed into one direction based on a few things. And some people will say, hey, don't you want to get married? Don't you want to have kids? And a lot of men are uncomfortable with it because of what comes with it. And people will not really include what that is. And then he finds himself in it. And then he finds himself alone when it doesn't work out. The people that kind of told him to go that way obviously leave them hanging. And that's where a lot of the frustration comes from. So it's a beautiful thing that now, in the first time in 70 years, men have the microphone. We have the power.
For the first time in how long?
70 years.
What do you mean the first time in 70 years?
Well, if you think about it, you're old enough to remember this. You remember Ricky Lake? You remember Sally Jesse Raphael? You remember Oprah Winfrey?
Yes.
At that time, there was no counter opinion. There was no opportunity for men to say anything, even if.
What do you mean? There was Phil Donahue, and there was
and you know
Dr. Drew has been around forever. And
well,
there were people before then.
Those guys don't. Those guys.
Jerry Springer, yes.
You know, in order to survive, they tended to pander towards the consumer, and so thus
you're saying they weren't real men.
Well, I'm not saying they weren't
Montel
real
might
men.
hear this right now.
See, I'm not here to challenge anyone to a physical fight or challenge their masculinity. However, we know how to survive in those environments, and that means you can't be overly masculine. You have to present a side that's going to address the consumer to sell dishwater or dish shampoo and that type of thing. So what's happening is men had to create their own lanes, essentially jump on YouTube and other platforms to get the mic to be able to say what they want to say without being canceled. So this is the beautiful time we live in, because now we get to see it. Even if you don't agree with it, you get to see at least another perspective. And it can't really be shut down, but it can be shut down.
I feel you on that. I will say that, I mean, as a dude, I'm with you. Like, I try to be like, as a dude, yes, but also as like a host of a show, there's a lot of guys out there who probably agreeing with you, but if there's women out there, be like, this motherfucker just said that men have been muzzled for the last 70 years.
And they don't realize it.
Do you think that men have been muzzled, or do you think more women have been muzzled for the last 70 years?
I mean, I certainly don't feel like men have been muzzled for 70 years. I mean, I think there's been, plenty of, like you stated, women like on talk shows and such like that. I don't know that those platforms were used on either side really to voice the things we're talking about today. I just don't think people talked about it as openly as they do. Most of those were, as you said, around consumer or what was going to be catchy or get the audience's attention. Where I think today, like, there's just more of an open platform for people to actually have these conversations. And I think, I know it all too well. I'm judged every day. And it goes back to, like you stated, living your own life, living your own walk. And everyone has their own ideas. Nobody's word is law. And I think that's where a lot of people are getting confused today. It's like, this is meant to be an open dialogue so you can kind of feel where you feel like is a good fit for you or where you would fit in. But there's just too much of this. It's not always black and white. And I think I'm a perfect example of that. I'm a wife, a mother, and I am doing something that is quite taboo for who I am. But I do it well. I balance the two. Nothing's really changed in my life outside of what I'm doing. And so I think I enjoy doing these type of shows because it does give me the opportunity to really show a different light to the industry, a different light to me as a person. I mean, who I am, Allie Rae, is very different who I am in real life, prior to this. And I think that's just the side that people don't get to see. And so it's always...
something that I've got cue cards and everything, and I'm just kind of throwing, but kind of all over the place here. But I find it interesting. You were married 9 years. Okay, and on the 10th day, he got out, kind of a thing. You've been married 20 years.
Almost 22.
22 years. If I had a cocktail, I'd cheers to you. And you've been married 1 year, okay?
Yeah.
And I was in a long-term relationship, single now, all good. What I want to know is, of your friends that have been married somewhat as long as you, I'm not saying as long as you, how many, let's say you have 100 friends. Let's just say 10 friends, just to kind of keep it simple. How many are still married? How many are happily married? How many are like, I just can't wait to be like Coach over here and I'm looking, and we're in the 8th inning, I'm trying to get out before the game's over, kind of a thing. If you would break that down.
Yeah, so that's actually interesting that I don't have very many friends, well, obviously because of my industry now, but even prior to that, because the friends that I did have that were in marriages, I've always been happy in marriage. I married literally to my best friend. We got married very young. I love him. I enjoy my time with him. We have fun together. I think what I would deal with is a lot of complaining. Like, it was every conversation in the break room at work is everybody just hates their husbands. And it was like,
these are the women complaining to you. And this is when you were a nurse?
Yeah, all the time. And I had a hard time connecting with people because it's like, well, here I'm going to be this girl like, oh, what? I love mine. We're going to go out and have drinks. You guys want to go? They're just, the guys, I always noticed the husbands were always out with their friends and, the wives were always doing their own thing. It was a very divided household. And I've noticed this too, even my sons, they're older now, but they've told me, like, at other people's house, it's just crazy. Like, I never see the parents sitting on the couch together like you guys do, or like hugging or kissing, or, walking in the kitchen, my husband slapped my ass. Like, it's just those things, like, they don't see any affection. And so I've never connected with a lot of other people because of that. So to answer your question, if you said I had 10 friends in a room, I'd say maybe 1 or 2 have at least marriages for that long, but I've never met someone that I think is truly as happy as we are, or that enjoys their time together. And I'm not saying that's how a marriage should be, because a lot of marriages, they really thrive on that space apart, and that's important to them. And so maybe that's just not what they do.
Here's what I'm hearing. And then I'm gonna turn it over to you. You're an anomaly. Okay, you're in a loving, sex-filled marriage, and you had a career, and now you're doing OnlyFans. Like, you're an anomaly, okay? Like, you're making more money than most women. You're happily married. Like, you're not the average. You're not the typical statistic. You're the
exception.
The exception to the rule, correct? But what I'm also understanding is that a lot of your women, 8 out of 10, are basically in this marriage where they're upset, annoyed, they're sick of their husband. Because a lot of times we hear on my show and shows like this, men kind of need to be like the man running the show, tell these women what's up. But, women have a voice in this perspective as well. Yeah. And they're kind of being the complaining behind the scenes. Go ahead, Coach.
Well, I want everybody to understand. I'm going to look into this camera right here, so I hope you see me very well here. I want everybody to understand and remember that everything I say from this point, she backed it up, all right? So it's basically zero, all right? You have no hope, no chance. past the 20 years, and that comes from experience. It also is the experience.
You have no chance of passing 20 years, you're saying?
No. You can pass 20 years. You'll probably be roommates, and you'll probably be overweight in a busted Pillsbury biscuit can, or you'll probably be the exception to the rule. But the data shows us, plus the experience that she expressed, that it's a very difficult thing. And this is what I want men to know.
Yeah.
It is very difficult. Many people will simplify it for you. They will say, oh, just do this and do that, and they will lead you on a wild goose chase. And that's my perspective. That's all that I offer. I tell men to not get married, especially when you don't have leverage. However, I also tell you, do not listen to people who simplify this. This is a very complicated thing that most people fail at miserably.
Got it.
And this is what I want people to understand.
Let me tee up Hafiz, because you used a few things there about not getting married.
Yeah.
You said sometimes
you'll turn have leverage.
Okay, if you don't have leverage, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And you talk about turning into roommates. Well, this guy is the roommate, the host of the Roommate channel.
Right.
When you're hearing this, you've been married 1 year. And by the way, this guy's a sharp, informed, very intentional guy. My assumption is he didn't just trip and fall into marriage.
He's seen myself before.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So you've been very, you're a calculated dude.
100%.
Okay. So when you're hearing Greg say this,
Yeah.
and even when you're hearing Aly say this, how are you processing this information?
No, this is really good, and I'm excited about how this conversation can develop, because I think you've maybe did you react to me and AMS's conversation a couple of years ago about marriage?
I didn't react to it. I didn't do a reaction video. But I made a comment about it.
Okay, you made a comment about it. Okay, so to me, I'm really excited about it, but it's also key to talk about experience. Experience shapes your view, right?
Yeah.
So a girl who's been abused by a lot of different men, she's gonna have a very cynical leaning view towards men. A man who's been cheated by business partners will have a very cynical view about having potential business partners. So it's also unique to talk about we have to be honest.
Yeah.
Nobody here is 100% objective. That's one of my arguments always with red pill stuff. They say they're speaking the truth. You're not a robot. You know, you have your biases, right? Call it for what it is. We all have our biases. I have biases. You have biases. Coach has biases. As much as we think we are, we have to be 100% honest to the people about our biases. If I'm an individual and I was divorced and I had a difficult experience via marriage, I'm going to have a biased opinion via marriage. Aly has a positive experience with marriage, so she's going to have a bias towards, great marriages can work, right? So similar to me, the people I admire the most, the people I look up to, are married people. Patrick Bet-David, Jordan Peterson, my father, Pastor Mark Driscoll, people who I look up to the most, right? Long-term marriages, the people that I celebrate a lot. Long-term marriages. My father and mother have been married for over 30 years. Great, healthy marriage. So that's my opinion. My Pastor Heidi Lewis, been married for over 25 years. So that's my worldview. And so to me, hearing what he's sharing, there is truth in that. Everything what everyone's going to share, there's going to be truth in it. Yes, if you, like my dad told me a very powerful point. I love my father. He's such a wise older man. He said the most important decision you'll ever make in your life is the one you marry. Yes. And it can go one of two ways. And this is what I want the guys to understand. We're not teaching naivete, which is, marriage is this perfect thing, and you just meet the one and live happily ever after, and there's no issues, there's no divorces. Right. We're not teaching naivete. Marriage can be the worst thing in your life. It can be an absolute living hell. And I guarantee you can go for days, and you know so many different stories about people which marriage is an absolute living hell. But we don't want to teach being naive about the realities, but also we don't want to teach nihilism. Right? The other end of the extreme. Marriage is the worst thing possible, and the women are out to get your money, and everyone's miserable, and everybody's roommates, and everybody's this. Because there are some individuals, such as what Alex communicated, who are in happy, healthy long-term marriage, right? So you don't want to be naive, you want to be nihilistic, you want to be as real as possible. Give me the good, the bad, and the ugly. And my biggest thing is that I understand that marriage is a very difficult thing to get right. And the same thing is like, I love what you do. It's marriage and money, right? I think we're going to be talking about those two things today. Adam, you're a 1% man financially, right? That means 99% of people are trying to get to where Adam is. Most people live paycheck to paycheck. They're struggling. Yep. Their lives suck when it comes to money. Most people are struggling, but they're trying to get to where you are. That's how I view relationships. Most people are in really sucky relationship. Yep. Most people, it's a day-to-day war, hell, the way work is, the way the gym is. But then there are some people who are having it at the highest of level. The same way nobody says, oh, well, most people are not going to be in the 1%, so screw it. You should even try. It's 90% of businesses end in 10 years. You should even try. We say if somebody's gonna succeed, why not you? Which is why I love what you're doing. If someone's gonna be rich, why not you? If someone's gonna make money, why not you? If someone's gonna have a great podcast, why not you? So for me, I acknowledge that the top of the mountain is rare. I acknowledge that, but what I also acknowledge is that if somebody's gonna win, why not it be you? And how can we help as many men as possible get there? Everybody won't be able to get there, but how many people can we help get there? And that's what, to me, matters the most.
Gotcha.
Preach. I love that.
Now, when you hear something like this, obviously he's sort of saying, all right, I hear you, coach. Your marriage didn't work. You got out, thank God, before the 10-year mark. So you'd probably be a little bit more spiteful than you are. I'm not saying that you're spiteful, but you'd be even more spiteful if you're paying a ridiculous amount of alimony and everything that you'd be paying. But is there anything wrong with that if he's saying? He's basically saying, I hear you, coach. It ain't easy out there, brother. Like, life's tough. Marriage is tough. Making money is tough. Things are tough. But don't tell me that I shouldn't get married, or don't tell me that I can't have a successful marriage. How do you process that?
I don't think anyone says do not get married. I think they caution people to say do not get married. If I say do not get married without leverage, that is a position, right, that you can change. Thus, if you read my book, it says once you get to that position, you can then make the decision. You'll probably come out better than going in it without it. However, this is what I will always say. When men do find that solution does not work out, they are left alone. There's nobody to help them. So people encourage people, hey, why not? Give it a try. But when you go bankrupt, when you lose your kids, when your kids are taken from you, when the courts kind of punish you for making this decision or punishes you for being a slightly better, higher earner, then nobody's there with information. Nobody's there with context. No one's there to help them. And I believe, not feel, I know, understand, believe, and I have evidence to show that men are left alone when they don't succeed in this endeavor. And that is the void that I feel. Because I can tell you, hey, men are alone in this situation. Men are homeless. Men are thinking about eating guns. Men are thinking about, they have no way out. Men are losing big time, and we're losing a fraction of men due to manipulation, due to people trying to, they may be hurt. A woman might be hurt in a marriage, or she might feel that she's not being appreciated. And then she throws a grenade in the room. What happens then? See, that's where I come in. I get to show you what happens when the grenade is there. And I also encourage you, you're not alone in this. A lot of people come to my content and they find out, oh, you too? See, before, as I said, 70 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, there was nobody presenting this side of the argument.
This side, I see what you're saying.
This right
with
here.
Got
Nobody,
it.
they just left men alone and they said, well, you must not have been hitting it right, or you must not have loved her right, or you must have abused the kids. That's what she said. She said that you were, and nobody came to this position. So listen, there was a void open and I ran right through the
so
hole.
when you talk about leverage, break down what you mean by leverage. Are you talking about in a marriage before you get married? Are you talking about a prenup? You're talking about a set of rules, guidelines? What's this leverage you're referring to?
Well, a lot of men, are looking to be loved, right? So a lot of men, the transaction is always men give, women receive. So in this instance, once men do a lot of giving, they may sacrifice, they may risk things, but they're risking the little things that they have. They don't know what they're going to lose in the future, right? So by that point, they will probably avoid a prenup. They might say, I don't need a prenup. I don't have anything. Right. And so he'll get married. He'll build some things. Once the commitment is made and once the investment is made, then he has something. So then when they say, well, you better love her right. You better screw her right. You better appreciate her right. And he says, well, it's still not working. She's not happy. Well, then he knows he can measure how much he's going to lose because he now has leverage. But the leverage is attached to a marital contract. And then at that point, he could say, well, I don't want to lose my 2 or 3 kids. I don't want to lose my house. I don't want to lose my car. He knows then. And also, he has no protection. He didn't get a prenup because he didn't have leverage. This is what a lot of young men in their 20s don't understand because they don't know what they're going to lose. They can't measure it. Once you're 40 and you've accumulated things and you have leverage, you have position at a company, and a woman says, hey, I want to marry you. And you will know what you're going to lose. And at that point, you can make a conscious decision whether to engage in a state-funded marital contract. Yeah. That's leverage. Most men get married without the leverage.
Did you have a prenup when you got married?
I was married at 28, 27, engaged at 27, 28. So absolutely not.
I did not have one.
Nope.
And if you ever get married again, would you get a prenup?
I would advise
Clearly,
every man. I mean, listen, a prenup is somewhat of a protection. It's just something to fight over in court. If there's something to be there, she could just fight it, and now you lost on the money, right? But I did not. I would encourage men to do so if they want to do it.
Aly, when you got married, did you have a prenup?
No, and honestly, like just hearing you speak, I feel like you come from a place that obviously had a negative experience with stuff, or you kind of, I guess I can't imagine ever looking into a marriage, like even going into the thought of marriage, maybe because I was so young and I didn't have to, with so much like guardedness. I feel like going into a marriage and falling in love with someone, there's a little bit of a leap of faith there. And so sometimes when you make it too transactional, I don't know, I feel like for me, it would take a lot away. And maybe again, because I was so young, we were kids ourselves. We didn't have anything to protect. But I feel like maybe that mindset is what's quite toxic for people that aren't able to find love, is when you constantly live in that, well, she might screw me over, I got to protect this. Like, how can you ever fully let yourself like go and submit to just being in love and like letting that guard down? And I think the women have a lot to lose too. It's not just men, obviously.
Right. But we don't speak from the women's perspective because we're men.
Yes.
But we also have to understand people go homeless over this. People lose their lives over this. This is serious.
Yeah.
It's like saying I joined the military and I was just hoping that I came out of the war not injured, not disabled, not ruined mentally. And then, I don't know why you would go over there and think that. Well, this is a battle. Well, and the battles are won and lost in these
It's not a battle, though. I think this is where the language has to be used correctly. And I think to me, I love the balancing act that's going to happen today, because I think what's going on is that I understand. So there's this idea of Eastern versus Western marriage. Let's just say Greg is on the East, she's on the West. Eastern marriage is all about logic. Does it make sense? Arranged marriages, right? Two families, two worldviews, two ideologies. Doesn't matter how you feel. It matters, does it make the most sense?
They're the most successful, by the way, arranged marriages.
We can talk about that in the future.
Sure. Yeah.
So Greg comes from that mentality of, if you're going to get in this agreement, you need to write out the agreement, clear as day. What does this entail? What does it get? If you leave, you get this. If you leave without this, you don't get nothing. Like, it's a very systematized business kind of contract, because it's
a business
contract.
Correct.
Because, and this is why when you were talking about the idea of like when men fail in marriage, they lose everything. That's wrong.
No, I didn't say they lose everything, but they lose an awful lot.
Let's stop. That's still wrong.
Well, why is it wrong?
Because let me tell you why. Because when men lose at anything in life, they lose a lot. You lose your job. Who's gonna come save you? If you screw your friends over, like as a man, that's the name of the game. You lose, you're gonna lose a lot. You fail, you're gonna fail a lot. So I'm not saying that it's wrong, like marriage doesn't count. I'm saying marriage is a part of all the things as a man where you cannot get wrong, which is why I agree with the message that you're giving at times. That's why you got to be 100% serious. You don't go at this naive. You don't go at this because you understand that there is a cost for this decision. So going back to the Eastern thing, but on the West, you have marriage as all feelings. Oh my gosh, we love each other. Oh, we don't, you know what? You make $1 million, I make $10,000. We're gonna be together for the rest of our lives. Oh, you're this, you're that. Oh, your dad was an alcoholic. We'll never have any problems. Like, it's a very naive model, right? And that's why Western marriages have issues, because it's all feelings. And to me, which is why I love Adam, is about balance. How do we balance these two ideologies? Because to Aly's point, if it's all logic, it's boring. If it's all robotic, there's no passion, there's no excitement, there's no je ne sais quoi. It's just a dry thing that in the modern world, people don't want that, right? But if it's all feelings, there's no structure, there's no protection, there's no wisdom, there's no guidance. So I think it's a marriage of those two ideas to be able to create long-term solutions for long-term success. And that's why I just think sometimes when we come from too much leaning on one direction, either or, it becomes problematic.
I believe he agreed with me, though. I thought he was disagreeing.
Well, I guess
I was agreeing.
That's what I thought.
That's how I play. I was like, yeah.
So just to be clear, did you get a prenup when you got married?
No, and I
you didn't.
I'll explain to you guys why. So I think, and I talked about this, I love the prenup conversation. I think it's important. There's three reasons why I didn't get a prenup. But the first reason is I actually believe prenups are good and bad. They're good because they protect you. They're bad because they don't protect you enough. What I personally believe is something which I did research about this called a marriage contract. You may not like this, but please give this to me. How many kids do you have?
3.
So let's say Aly married her man and she said she wanted 3 kids, right? Yeah. She gets married, she wants 3 kids. All of a sudden, prior to marriage, gotcha. He agreed. She said, honey, I want 3 kids. Is that cool with you? He said, of course, baby, you want 3 kids. We're going to have 3 kids. She's married. 5 years into it. Hey, when are we having our kid? Next year. When are we having our kid? Next year. It's year 8. He's like, I don't want any kids anymore. Should she stay in that marriage? He agreed, and she both agreed that we were going to have 3 kids. That's why she married him. When it was time to have kids, he changed his mind. Well, I don't want kids anymore. Should she stay in that marriage? Let's go on the guy's side, because the red pill guys love when guys are being the victim. So you're a man, and in your marriage, you agreed that we're gonna have sex, let's say twice a week. That's
an agreement.
I'm just saying
that's a verbal contract.
We're agreeing that we get in at least twice a week. All of a sudden, she's like, I'm not in the mood anymore. She's like, oh, now I'm on my period.
That won't be all of a sudden. That'd be almost immediate. But go ahead.
Okay, and then months into it, right?
Yeah.
She says, well, I only want to have sex once every 6 months. Should he stay there? You both agreed initially, like, yo, we're gonna do this consistently, and now he's getting it. Should he stay there? So to me, what's very important about the marriage is that before you get into it, both of you guys need to agree upon everything. This is where I think the nuance in the evolution. Agree on everything so the woman's protected as well as the man is protected. And so to me, that's what me and my wife did. Before we got married, we talked about everything. Every single scenario, every single thing. Me, I'm not a money guy. I'm not motivated by money. So therefore the money, like, I'm different. Everyone knows me. I'm not a money guy. So you can have all the money. I have my brain. Mm-hmm. I can start from ground zero. I'll build the money back up. I don't mind money. But to me, because it's another argument that we can talk about later, is that the kids is a whole different conversation. Kids are more wealth than money. So I was more obsessed with children than money, because end of the day, like I said, we can talk about that later. But so to me, in regards to losing money, I don't care about losing money. Take whatever you want. If worst case scenario things happen. But by having a marriage agreement, both of you guys understand what's expected of you. And if one person obviously breaks this agreement, both families know. So if she wants a certain amount of kids and I say I don't want it anymore, then her family knows, though, yo, Hafiz, you promised my daughter this, you didn't give it to her, so it makes sense that this marriage is null and void.
Is this, we all understand what a prenup is, all right? Like, it's signed, lawyer, date, bing, 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 bing. What is a marriage contract? Is it a verbal agreement? Is it a written agreement?
It can be.
You're saying that the families know each other?
Yeah,
what is that exactly?
It can be one of 3 things, right? It can be written between you and this individual, which is the least ideal. The second ideal is you can actually get a mediator or a legal arbiter to actually sign this for you. So therefore, like in the worst case scenario, if you go to court, this is now a legal document. Right, so this is a legal document that can be able to be proved in court. But I know a lot of the red pill guys don't like the idea of marriage being controlled by the state. Mm-hmm. And if you look at a lot of traditional Eastern societies, marriage is really agreement between families. So to me, I think it's really about the families agreeing to this and the families being aware of expectations on both sides. So therefore, there's family accountability. Because what's problem in the West is there's no accountability. Like you say, if the wife.
Dude, we agree mostly on all of these things. You understand what's going on here. When you're talking about these marriages and business contracts and family, this is where we agree. Yeah. And unfortunately, we get into the loss into the romance and the feelings part of it, which feelings do change, right? 100%. Your feelings changed about me about a minute ago. People change, and thus, life changes, right? Thus, though, the marriage contract doesn't change with the state. So you have to have those things understood and be in the proper position.
Okay, so let me just paint a picture here. So I was married very briefly, okay?
Divorced?
Divorced. But I had a prenup. Yeah, but the entire, without throwing myself under the bus here, she needed to expedite the marriage, you know what I'm saying, in order to.
Yeah, I got it.
So I said, I got you, baby. I love you, but you're gonna have to sign and date here, and these are the expectations I've had if I do this for you. And it wasn't like a marriage built to last. It was I'm here for a good time, not a long time type of situation. You could read between the lines here if you know what I'm saying, okay?
Got it.
But we're still cool. Shout out to you, Lauren, if you're watching. All good. But better believe that I had a prenup in that situation. So that's when I was in my early 30s. Now I'm in my early 40s. Life's even better. Yeah. Money's good, career's good, still in shape, still what you would call sexual market value peak. All right. Shout out to Rolo, who basically did a whole calculation. I'm in the 0.13% of men. I'm like, okay, my ego's pretty big already. Boom. Now I just got an inflated ego. Thanks, Rolo. Boom. So life's good. But I had a conversation with a girl recently who's what I would say a very high value woman. Let's put it that way. Okay. And we're saying, all right, if we ended up ever together, I would want a prenup. No. I'm not down for a prenup, was what she says. I said, well, I'm glad we're having this conversation right now before this thing gets off the ground a little bit. She's like, no. And she made some very valid points as to why she wouldn't want to sign a prenup. And I'm like, well, granted, I hear you and emotional and all that kind of, like I love what you said about East and West. And I said, yeah, I'm going to need the prenup, baby girl. Like, sorry, Smart. Like no matter whatever happens. So I'm trying to understand like the prenup, the marriage contract. At the end of the day, you'd be a fool as a successful guy to not establish some type of boundaries, some type of protection to say, hey, look, I hear you. You want to have this fantasy land, Cinderella, Snow White vibe go down, right? Beauty and the Beast thing. But like, first marriage is almost 50% don't work. Yeah. Second marriage is, I think it's 60-something percent. 63%. Third 70. Marriage is 75%.
Absolutely.
So like the more and more you get married, you realize, all right, this whole thing. So I'm understanding the balance between the emotional component because you're going to have, hey, I love you. I want to be with you forever or else we wouldn't get married.
Yeah.
But just flip a coin whether this bad boy is going to work out or not. At the same time, I hear what Hafiz is saying is like, everything can't be so robotic and so structured that you can't have any feelings and emotion. Yeah. So I'm trying to kind of grapple this.
Can I add something to this? Go. See, this is the thing that experience offers that sometimes experience doesn't. So he talked about experience and, being open-minded to experiences, but a guy who has significant investment experiences has bumped their head as well. Yep. They wouldn't be called bitter. They would be called experience, right? But in this situation, what people don't know what's behind that curtain when you go into court and the love is lost. And also the agreements aren't being upheld with the marriage contract are piranhas, sharks. They typically come in the form of lawyers, judges, and people in that industry who make a lot of money. With that being said, once you go in that room, I'm one of the only people that have been in those rooms. It's a dark place. We call it the belly of the beast. And until you've been there, you really haven't experienced a marriage. Now, let me just say this. You mentioned the divorce. Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second.
Courtroom? You haven't been to marriage?
Yeah. Let me explain why. Let me explain why. You mentioned the 50%, 63%, 70%. But do you know that these don't include the people who have already talked to divorce attorneys? See, many of those 50%, there's an additional percentage of people who haven't even talked to a lawyer, or I'm sorry, that have talked to a lawyer. And they've gone, okay, I'll stay, baby. It's cheaper to keep her. Happy wife, happy life. Yeah. I'll just accept what it is. I'll stay for the kids. I don't want to lose the house. So it's more than 50%.
So and you're saying tack on a couple extra percentage
points. We need to tack on at least 25 extra percent because there are some people who have visited it, and many people reconciled. So it's bigger than that. And when I add on those percentages, it adds some perspective. Yeah. Oh, shit, there is more than 50%. These are 50% who legally got divorced. We're adding on the people who said, oh, shit, I'll just go on to stay.
What we call thinking about it.
Yeah, man, I'll think about it. Or the person brought it up. If you don't do this, I'm divorcing.
Aly, let me get your perspective here. Because, again, you're the anomaly, happy marriage, living a good life, and killing it on OnlyFans, circle back to that little, water cooler talk with your ladies. Why are because I think 70% of marriages are initiated by women. Sorry, divorces are initiated by women, and then it bumps
marriages.
Up to you were right about the first 100% on marriages, brother.
Right.
But and I think it bumps up to about 80% when they're college educated. So the more money they're making, the more independence they're feeling, the smarter they are. All right. What are the reasons you think that women are just over their man?
Well, I think there's a lot of too with women get in clusters and they kind of feed each other and it festers, and that's one thing I think about, like my husband and I's dynamics. I've never really talked about any marital problems we've had with other people. Maybe, a comment to my sister or something, but I don't like discuss our problems the same way he doesn't discuss that, because I think everyone else, has their own like you said, biases and things that they've been through, and they may come from a different angle and put ideas in your head or your fears in your head.
You're saying misery loves company.
Misery loves
company. So if you're having an issue with your relationship or your marriage, oh, my man, let me tell you about my man. And then they just kind of...
We should do that, yeah. And I think I've watched it. It's just incredibly toxic. And I think I look at marriage as a commitment between two people. And for me, and so when you speak about the family aspect, I feel like we didn't even have a big wedding because I don't need to share that with anyone else. It's between him and I just found it kind of corny to do so. So for me, I think a lot of women, I don't disagree with there's a lot of women out there dirty, and they will particularly prey on men who are successful I do not dispute that whatsoever. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for a prenup. I think, it could maybe change the tone. But a true woman that absolutely loves you would respect what you've built before you've actually, came together, and would understand if those are protections you need because of whatever you've been through in the past. If you were a woman who was in love with you, you would honor that and sign the prenups.
If I could, I almost want to kind of get a listicle, and I get you don't speak for all women, and either will Natalia, and then I want to turn it over to the men. But if you could put a top 3 reasons why a woman is looking to divorce her man or break up with her man, in your opinion, what would it be? Meaning it could be money, it could be looks, it could be not communicating, it could be infidelity. Based on your experience, what are the top 3 reasons you're seeing women just trying to break up with their man or divorce their man?
I think I'll tell you what I personally think is happening in the marriages, and then I'll tell you the top 3 things I would say. Probably working too much.
That the man is working too much?
Yeah, I think a lot of women get, bitter about that if they're having to take on too much, of a role elsewhere. Because a lot of women work now too, right? So it's different. It's not like you can't really complain when you're at home taking care of the kids and being a housewife, like that's your role. But when you're also working and doing that, and it's not a meet in the middle in between there, then, obviously.
So it's the man working too much and her working too much?
I would say I've heard complaints, or maybe they're always on business or they travel. Okay. Or, obviously I think there's a distrust. There could be, something there where maybe they have a very active lifestyle outside of the marriage in which maybe they don't trust their friends or who they're around. Those are some common reasons. I guess
that's number 2, distrust?
Yeah, distrust. Okay. And then I think generally that I personally think not enough marriages do not really prioritize sex. I don't think people understand how incredibly important that is. And a lot of women is get bitter and want to withhold. And I'm not, And I think that is incredibly toxic, not only for the marriage, not just for him, but for the woman herself. Because I think that's why a lot of marriages, I am almost shocked at these women say they won't have sex for months with their husband. I'm like, holy cow. Well, it's no wonder your marriages are in
shambles. Coach saying that's unacceptable.
I really do believe that.
It's
and I
very
think
common.
That plays,
it's more common than you know.
Oh, okay. And my husband hears it, would hear it at work. Other guys, he was always kind of the guy in the corner, they don't have, I can always say there's never been a day in my marriage that I did not have sex with my husband.
A day?
Literally, unless I was gone away from him, which
Steve,
really
Steve, shout out to you, brother.
But it's important, and I think that that is vastly undervalued.
And you're aware of that as a wife to say, all right, it is my responsibility to make sure my man is fulfilled.
Yes, and I think women also give up. They don't try as hard. They think they don't have to continue to be sexy. A lot of women. And I've been there. I've gone through phases, where I didn't feel sexy. I'd had 2 kids back to back, basically, at one point. And, I didn't feel great. I was overweight. And I still made time for that, though. But a lot of women immerse themselves in that lifestyle and then of just taking care of the kids and just chop, chop, chop. And they totally forget to really, marinate and take care of their marriage.
So working too much. So basically not paying attention.
Yeah.
Developing a distrust. Mm-hmm. And then thirdly, sex. So this is coming from a woman who's been married 22 years.
Yeah.
So Nat,
yes,
you've never been married.
Yes.
You have a lot of suitors.
Yes.
You're a little hottie toddy out there. You're out there.
A little smart.
Okay. Why do you think, speaking from a young woman's perspective, I'm not even talking about marriage, but you've had boyfriends, a lot of your girlfriends, your sisters, they've had boyfriends. What are the top 3 reasons they break up with their men?
Well, in the dating, I don't find money to be too much in dating. Now, when you're married, I know money is definitely one. Attention is another one. And I mean in all areas, so in the bedroom, going on dates, attention in all aspects.
So number 1, attention.
Yeah. Yes.
Pay attention to me.
Attention.
Yeah.
I want some quality time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something about that meat right there,
There's
coach.
meat.
Yeah.
I just said that.
Yeah.
Which is what I was referring to when I was talking about like working too much. Like
Yes.
they're not getting the
Attention.
attention. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm gonna come back. I gotta come back to a point.
Well,
Go
we're
ahead.
coming back to you guys right
Yeah,
after this, 100%. So number one, attention.
Attention. Obviously, if you're married.
No, not married.
Not
You're
married,
not
just dating?
Yeah, I'm having people speak from
From
experience here.
experience.
Dating.
Okay. So for dating, attention. What else is lack of clarity of the relationship? So like you're just dating a date and like you're like just Netflixing and chilling. And you're like, this is going nowhere. So lack of clarity.
So to be clear, that usually happens right around the 3-month mark. You'll get the so where's this going? And the guy will always
even like after like the first month. After the first month, you should kind of get a feel of like where is this going? Like, are we consistently going to the same places? Like, are they adventurous? Do I like this? So don't waste your time. Just
Okay.
a month in, you should know. And then the
Number
last
3.
one, I would say, maybe just the interest goes away. Maybe just like a lot of other options. And that can be a really big distraction.
It's a jungle out there,
Yeah.
baby. It's
Yeah.
a freaking
You know.
jungle out there.
But it kind of goes to clarity, so that's kind of like my
Listen,
3.
I appreciate. Listen, I want the young men and even young women listening at home to be like, got it, Aly, boom, boom, Natalia, cool, makes sense. All right, coach, and then Hafiz, flip it on us, right? Because we established the fact that 70 to 80% of marriages, relationships, the woman initiates a divorce or a breakup. But oftentimes, sometimes a man will initiate a breakup. Sure. From your perspective, what are the top 3 reasons men end a relationship with their women?
I would say number 1, lack of respect. So that goes to, like I said, men want to feel loved, but oftentimes are the giver of love, and nobody really not a lot of people focus on men receiving. So if there's a lack of respect, he may pull the trigger on that one if it feels like he's not gonna lose his children, right? So that would be reason number 1. I would say lack of intimacy. People can say sex, but she can lie there like a Carl's Jr. star, and he can pump her 5 strokes. It don't mean that he got sex from her. You know what I mean? Most of the prostitution-oriented sex is in marriage. But with that being said, if he does get a couple of pity duty sexes out of his wife, doesn't mean he got anything.
So you're saying that there's a difference
quality.
between sex and intimacy.
Absolutely. Intimacy. I mean, guys are looking for intimacy, and sometimes it's better to pay somebody for some intimacy than to get it from your own wife. A lot of marriages are going on right now because he's paying for intimacy somewhere else. But with that being said, if he's not getting intimacy and respect from his wife, he gonna leave if it doesn't hurt him financially.
Got it. And then third?
I would say
you said respect, sex / intimacy.
Yeah, I would say obviously then the kids. I mean, there's going to be something associated with the kids. If he knows he can keep a relationship with his children, aka she screwed up and he can get up out of there, and he can use that as leverage to make sure he doesn't lose time with his kids, then he'll pull the trigger. Yeah,
got it. Okay, go ahead, Hafiz.
Yeah, I want to take a little differently because there's nothing that I'm going to add to it that Coach Greg Adams hasn't shared. I think I agree with the third one may hit or miss, but here's the nuance I think is lacking in the conversation, especially to the young guys who kind of consume this kind of content. There's always truths in what people say. Like you say a lot of things that are true, but if you end the sentence there, it's not going to benefit people's lives. And so to me, I think one of the fundamental challenges is when you come at things from a perspective of things are going to fail, when you come at things from a perspective as worst case scenario, like, so there's this interesting, I won't get too lost in the sauce, but there's this interesting TV show where this guy he spent an hour watching the worst events in humanity. The worst murders, the worst rapes, the worst thefts. He saw the worst in humanity for an hour. After watching the worst in humanity for an hour, how do you think he felt about humans, Adam?
Yeah, obviously he was just
probably felt like crap. He
so
probably
good.
felt
Yeah,
really bad. So what happens so often in the marriage conversation, like I said, it's balance. Too many guys in the comments in this red pill world, they are consumed with the worst case scenario. And there's enough stories like that for days. He can spend 48 hours telling us every single worst case scenario, and he's only touching the tip of the iceberg of all the stories he's heard. There's enough information about the worst case scenario, about marriage, about divorce. Oh, she left me. And there's enough of that in this world. And so my biggest thing is that how does that make society better? Especially, I'm passionate about it, going back to like black community. The biggest issue that's plaguing the black community, when asked Candace Owens on the right, if you can ask Dr. Eric Dice on the left, they'll tell you it's fatherlessness, broken families. Not enough husbands and wives coming together, raising families. That's what's destroying the black community. That's what I'm passionate about. And so to me, the biggest thing is how is simply spending all day, keyword all day, majority of my day, hearing about the worst case scenario about marriage and divorce and alimony and getting screwed over. How is that going to help black men become better fathers? How is that going to help them become better husbands? How is that going to equip them with the tools needed to build healthy families and to create legacies of change? And so to me, that's one of the biggest reasons why some of the conversation to me is just boring. It's like, yo, like, okay, you have data, and then even some of the data is like 50% of marriages end in divorce. Is like, have we not looked up some of the most recent data? It's just like everything is biased, but it's biased to not lead to long-term success. And if we're honest about long-term success, a lot of this information is not it.
I got a question for you. Do you have car insurance?
100%. I know where you're
All right.
going.
Do you have homeowners insurance?
100%.
Do you have life insurance?
100%.
Do you have medical insurance?
100%.
Did you get tired of your insurance agent talking about the possibilities of you losing your life and being rewarded? Hold on for a second. I know, but don't be a butt person. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. You have insurances, although it's a very uncomfortable situation, and life insurance people who sell it tend to be scumbags. They tend to be looked at as scumbags. Like, I don't want to have this conversation about me dying, but you surely will die. So you better have the conversation. The reality is, yes, it's a very tough conversation. I have to spend a lot of time talking about it. It's very difficult. However, there needs to be some insurance, and there's no insurance, and so we must talk about it.
Well, I don't want to put words in Hafiz's mouth. I'm going to let you answer this, but here's how I'm interpreting this. And believe me, I've made millions of dollars in the insurance world. All right,
Yes.
so
We love insurance.
I'm good.
We love
I'm
insurance
good on
over
that.
here. Exactly.
Ironically, I don't even sell insurance. I buy insurance off of people because they're sick of paying for their insurance. That's another conversation.
Because many times, they don't get anything from the insurance that they pay, right? But I don't want to put you out of business.
No,
I love insurance over here.
Life's good. You're not going to change anything.
Exactly.
But here's my point. And this is kind of Hafiz's point, is you're talking about you're going to die, you're getting in a car accident, your house is going to flood, you're going to flood. And he's like, stop talking about the negative shit. What Hafiz is saying, and I'll let you kind of go from here, is, well, let's talk about what happens if that doesn't happen. Let's hear some positive stories. Let's hear about the lovely home we're going to build, the amazing car we're going to drive in, the fact that my house isn't going to get blown away in a hurricane. And I understand what you're saying is like, yeah, brother, you can have the most beautiful house, you can have the most beautiful car, you can have the most beautiful life, but you do need some protection.
Just be fair.
So it's almost like a both. You need both.
But just to be fair, when two people enter into that agreement, that's what they talk about. They don't sit together talking about, hey, when we get divorced, and they sit to talk about those things. So the conversation is being had, it's almost between those two people. But when divorce happens, it happens in the court of public opinion, and it happens in the public court.
Yeah. So go ahead, you asked me a question. That's why I was responding, because you asked me. I was going to respond to the question, but it is what it is. So remember, this is how you know, Adam. This is a true test. Aly, if you want a true test to how someone views the world, see how balanced they are, right? So like, let's see somebody politically. The best people politically are people like Adam. They can go hard on the right and go hard on the left. They can see the good in the right. They can see the good in the left. They have a balanced perspective of both sides. When someone's only going hard here 24/7, you notice a little bit of offness. Like when my biggest thing is, I said balance. I didn't say far west emotional. I didn't say far east logical. I said balance.
Correct.
My point is that if you're trying to tell somebody about buying a house, use a house example. Let's stay with the house example. If you're gonna sell somebody a house, because you know human beings need houses. Of course you're gonna add insurance to it. But this is how you're not gonna sell a house. Let me show you this beautiful house. Do you know if your house burns down and you're inside of it, you're gonna die? Do you know that there's all these electricity problems? You know when a hurricane comes, your house is gonna fall down.
Yeah, you lose your commission if you sell it like that.
And if I'm trying to sell something to you and telling you every worst case scenario, hey Adam, come drive this Lamborghini. Do you know that Lamborghinis, you can get in a crash, you can die? Do you know if you drive this certain speed, you're gonna It's not either or, because this is what it blows my mind. I know how nihilistic these guys on the internet are, because they can't even tell the nuance. It's not either or, it's both.
Yeah.
I want you, please sit down with Coach and hear about the worst case scenario. Hear about how to protect yourself. Hear about the insurance. I want you to have that. But if all you're doing is watching him, I'm telling you, you're going to be deceived, because all you're going to be consumed about is the worst case scenario and the big bag boogeyman, aka the state, aka your woman screwing you over. You got to hear the balance. You got to hear the best of stories. And I remember Patrick Bet-David, shout out to PBD, said, I would love to hear, do a debate. On one end, people who've been married, happily married for 40 years, a beautiful marriage, and then the guy who's been in the worst divorce in human history. And then let the people hear both of the stories. And that's what I'm talking about. There's also good. There's also good that happens. There's horrible, but there's good. We need to share both stories. And my biggest problem is when we spend all day long, most of our time, because there's a profit model in it. And I shared to my guys in the Standard the profit model in it. CNN doesn't share anything positive about Donald Trump. Why? Because you don't make money that way. If I'm doing content on internet, I don't make money talking about healthy marriages. Who wants to watch that crap? Know how to make money? Crazy, delusional women screwing men of their money. Clicks, views, CPM through the roof. I know how it works. I can show you for days. I can pull up my analytics. I know how all this stuff works. And so my biggest thing is that if we're going to have a conversation, we need to have a holistic conversation for the benefit of men. If we are saying that what's wrong in society is too many men being raised without their father, I want every man, even the nihilistic red pill dudes in the comments, I want every single man to have an ability to raise his son in his home. That's how I was raised. That's why I was made the man I am today. I had an amazing father who was able to raise me in his home. I want every man to raise his son in his home. And I want to give you every tool possible to be able to have a healthy marriage, to be able to be a father who's present. And so my biggest thing is all we're talking about what's wrong, especially in the Black community, all that's going to lead to is more single moms, more broken homes, and more of the same BS that's going on today. And to me, I'm sick of it. I want to move forward in society.
So is that essentially your biggest problem with the red pill community, is that it's all negative, it's all
Adam,
insurance, it's all what could happen bad?
And they have to be real. There's an incentive structure for it. I shared some of these people these numbers. I'm going to share some of these numbers with you. I did a video because it's so funny, because the red pill community, those kind of guys, they're so fickle. And they love you when you bash women, but the moment you share any objectivity, showing both sides, now all of a sudden they're demonizing you, right? So it's very interesting that I do videos that are critical of modern men and modern women. I try to be as balanced as possible. I know for a fact my content will be weak if it's imbalanced. So I like to do as balanced as possible. I did a video a couple months ago called the why women today are not marriageable. I did that video talking about some of the principles that I believe are true, why women have issues, and we can go on that for days. That video did over 500,000 views in 2 weeks.
Big time.
I did another video called The Sad Reality of Beautiful Women, talking about how sometimes attractive women have an air of entitlement about themselves that makes them difficult in relationship. Another video, 500,000 views. The reality of the matter is, in that month alone, I told the guys in the Standard, I'm just being transparent and honest. With those two videos, and then Candace Owens coming on the podcast talking about the problems of modern women, we made $55,000 that month. $55,000 just doing a few videos. And I know almost everybody in the space, and everyone shows me their money. And I was making the least of what everybody else is making. But when I do the other content, Adam, the more balanced content, there's not clicks in it. There's not views in it.
What type of content?
Like let's say if I was do a video about, hey guys, here are signs, like let's say 5 things to pick in a wife. Those kind of guys don't want to hear that. They want to hear 5 things wrong with women today. Yeah. That's what they want to hear. They want to hear more of the negative stuff. They want it reinforced, like CNN. Like CNN does not want to hear 5 things great about Donald Trump. Hell no. CNN don't want to hear that. Give me 5 things wrong with Trump. And so to me, when you're doing balanced content, even when you're doing male improvement stuff, because I think there's a difference between real male improvement, because it has to improve the lives of men. fitness, emotional health, spiritual growth. When you're doing that don't get views. And dudes in my comments would always talk about this, that dang, the girl stuff gets 10x the views of the male improvement stuff. And also when Fresh and Fit will tell you the same thing when they do their finance stuff. They've always told me, I don't know if things have changed, they've told me when they do finance, dudes don't watch that, but they want to watch the girl stuff, right?
Well, and look at the girls that they have, the Fresh and Fit, I've talked with them and I told them I would love to do a one-on-one, but I'm definitely the exception rule, so I'm not great for that. But they bring girls on there that are very I don't want to make it about Fresh and Fit because nothing but respect. I don't like to criticize anybody who's not in the room. Gotcha. I was just bringing them up about the point of they told me when they do finance, the other guys don't watch them. So my thing is that there's not a financial incentive. So if you're a content creator, Adam, and I'll give you an example, and if you do this type of content, you're making $50,000 a month, you do the other, you make $6,000. Which one are you going to lean towards?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So as a content creator, who like this is our first time we're meeting in person.
Sure.
But you strike me as a person who's just telling it like it is, based on your life experience. Okay. You don't seem like the type of person who's like, well, I could say this for clicks, but this does better. Right. But there must be a little bit of element in that, maybe how you do thumbnails or titles.
Absolutely.
So Hafiz is speaking very impassionately, making some very valid points.
What he's talking about is absolutely true. But what we have to understand is when you're doing content, you have to kind of pick a lane in the genre. I mean, if you go to OnlyFans and you start wearing a mother gown, you ain't gonna get no clicks.
Hey, there's a market. There's a market for everything.
There's a market for it.
Coach.
I know there's a market for it, but I don't see you doing that tomorrow. But the reality is this: I have 12 YouTube channels. All right, and not all of them are this content, and it is true. Those channels struggle if I'm doing something else, but that's the reality of the situation. It would be like. I love the example that he gave. You wouldn't sell a house like this. Of course, no wise salesman would give you the negatives. Yeah. They would tell you something in order to make the commission. So in essence, he's shooting himself in the foot. But on my side, I have to keep a lane and make sure people understand what that is. Of course, if I crossed over and I brought balance, sure, it might fall flat on my audience because they may not be interested in that. However, I'm going to say this and I'm going to add this. Many times if I brought on a female content creator and sat down and had an interview in a one-on-one, most of the conversation, if we did bring the balance, will start leaning over to her. And people know this. They watch television. They see movies and stuff like that. Every 1 point that they would make towards a man to get him to pay attention, they'd have to make 5 or 10 points for the woman. So it's kind of like, hey, CGA, you raining down on their head over here today. And then they would tell me to back off. All right, come on, man. We can't let them feel a certain way. And that's kind of just how it works. So I have to stay in that lane and be honest to my approach. The minute I bring it over to the other side, then the other side's going to lean. And I'll just add this. If I really wanted to make money, I'll be out here praising the woman. I'll be out here uplifting the woman. I'll be a millionaire.
I think it goes back to personal accountability too, though. People consume. If you're going to sit there and consume the same content, that's
their thing.
Personal accountability. I consume content that I generally align with, but I'm also very wise enough to know I should also consume content that counteracts with what I believe, because otherwise then you never learn. And I don't think there's anything wrong with staying, like you said, in your lane. You got your niche, and that's kind of where you go.
Choices. And one more thing. If people wanted to watch finance, if I came on and I do some finance related videos, but I don't have a finance degree, I'm just offering advice. If people want that, there's how many billions of YouTube channels out there? They can find somebody else for that. And that's probably why my finance video won't get clicks. They know my lane and they'll want to hear this information.
People need to make sure they're having accountability.
Well, to circle back to what he says, I love how passionate you are, bro. Life is all about balance. Okay. If you're living in echo chambers, or if you're an extremist to whether it's politically, whether it's financially, whether it's romantically, any sort of extremist has major blind spots. So striking the balance, whether it's the East and West, whether it's the pros and cons of marriage, I think is important, and it's a very nuanced discussion. A lot of people are, this is the way it is, and it's black and white. Like Aly mentioned, there's a lot of gray area in all this. Let me move on to the next topic. Nat, do you want to weigh in here on any comments you want to super chats, or should we wait a sec?
We can wait. Let's get some questions. I know we have a lot of super chats that are comments. I want to get some good questions for our guest today. So if you guys want to put those in the chat, I'd really appreciate it, and then we can read them in a little bit.
Awesome. So we've got about an hour left. We'll definitely spend some 5-10 minutes answering some questions. So we can do that towards the end. So Nat, you keep a track of that.
Gotcha.
I want to kind of go deeper on the mindset of women today, right? So you've done a video, vetting women, basically choosing the right woman versus basically the dangers of the wrong mate selection. And you talked about basically her financial situation and her background, how student loan debt, 70% of women have student loan debt. You assume their debt. Modern women, you talked about entitlement mentality. But you've spent, 20 years coaching women?
Yeah, right around 20, 15 to 20 years. Yeah.
And you were a basketball coach.
Basketball, yes.
Okay. And you've said things like, women are not special. They only care about themselves in certain videos like this. What have you learned about female nature being around this many women for this many years?
Well, I don't know what you're paraphrasing for. Yeah. I don't know if the women aren't special. I don't know if I said that exactly. I think possibly what I was alluding to is that we've put them in a position in society to believe that they're the prize when we bring valuable things to relationships. So I want to make sure I clarify that.
Okay.
A statement like women aren't special was very generic. So I don't believe I said something like that, but I probably could have said something like that. With that being said, I want people to really look at the long-term pictures of relationship, and especially for men. When men pursue women, we have to pedestalize them in the sense, and we have to demonstrate to them why they're so valuable at that point in life. However, the tide changes and the pendulum swings. Mm-hmm. There's significant amount of value that men have and bring into relationships that they discount. And I'm telling men, you're discounting this value, and men don't find out what that value is until later.
Yeah, you're saying to play the long game. Essentially what you're saying.
Understand the long game, because a lot of times we only look at the short term, right? There's a phrase with married people we use, men get married and hope their woman will never change.
Right.
Women get married, hope their men will change. Inevitably, both of them are disappointed. And we know this throughout the statistics and mostly through experience and conversations we've had. The reality is men look at the short term. Mm-hmm. They don't realize, as we know, women aren't going to sleep with you as a husband. Or they may continue to leverage that as she leveraged it in your pursuit because you pedestalized it. That's going to be an error, and you're going to have a hard time trying to realize that. Not only that, there's nobody you can turn to that can help you. Nobody's going to go to your wife and say, hey, you're doing it wrong. Go sleep with your husband. Go suck him off. All right? Go make your husband feel good. Go tickle his balls. Guess what? He has no way to leverage. He has no way to turn that tide, and then he's stuck. And as we know, he's not going to pull the trigger on that marriage. That's just the reality.
Do women have these types of conversations that he's kind of alluding to, and the fact that you're like, I go my husband gets sex all the time. Do women have these types of conversations internally?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard women talk about it and stuff. I have a different perspective because sex has always been important to me in marriage, but I would agree that for the male side, it's far more of women, I don't think care about it as much as that way. I mean, I guess I don't like to speak generally about other women in general just because everybody's a little bit different and I'm kind of the exception to that. But I would say that, women talk about, there are women that don't feel sexy or don't feel given attention or paid attention to, or that don't get their intimacy actually, fulfilled on their end. So, I guess I guess I don't really have a direct answer of what I think either way, just because I don't live that life. Like, it's always been the same, my husband and I. Our expectations are the same. We've both been able to be comfortable in our intimacy.
Yeah.
What we call that is anecdotal evidence, right? And so she's probably trying to support her argument based on her experiences as opposed to me. I'm more general. I can't speak to her. I can't speak for him. I can only speak generally. And some people try to speak specifically about things. I just go, in general, this. And then this gentleman might have a different position. She might be able to say, hey, based on my experience, but that doesn't help anybody because they are only using their personal experience.
Yeah, I would say it's less common for women to be sitting around thinking about. In my opinion, I've heard it less. And It's not like something that,
But back to the fact that you've coached women for 20 freaking years. You've been around thousands of women. Is there some sort of
what were the age groups of that?
We're talking about, I probably coached them from middle school all the way to end of senior year.
And do you have a
I was like, who is talking?
Sorry.
I was like, who is it? Where this is coming from? Yeah.
Do you have any children, daughter, son?
I do. I have a daughter and a son.
Oh, okay.
Shout out to them.
Okay.
My son's probably watching.
How old, Coach?
They're teenagers now, 16 and 15, back to back. Yeah.
So I do have a question. What would be kind of the language you would speak to your daughter about these things? How old is she?
16.
16.
Yep.
So like she's getting into like the boy age and all that stuff. Kind of.
Yeah.
Look at that.
He's
smile.
like, don't mention
He's
it.
Like, oh no. But what would be like? How do you give advice to somebody who is your daughter, knowing the good and the bad, and knowing that you do want her to get married and find a high value man? How is that language transferred to someone like that?
Well, see, I don't speak to that age group in terms of giving my content. So I wouldn't sit a group of young women.
But there are people who are that age receiving the content.
They're men, young men. Yeah, so I'm not going to talk to a group of women my daughter's age and have this conversation, right, especially as direct. So this personal conversation about my daughter is not relative to who I send out to my audience. So gotcha. I don't target her. I don't target people in her age group. I don't target that. Now, if we have personal discussions about what she should look out for and what I'm looking out for her best interest, I'm hoping that she doesn't come in the spirit of rebellion, which typically is of women that age, because I've coached them. I know this to be true. If she does operate in the spirit of rebellion, as any other Disney movie that you could see, the daughter rebelled against the king father. And it's actually supported in society. I try to have as minimal a conversations as I can with this, because if I send a certain approach to this age group, they're going to rebel. They're going to believe that I don't know what I'm talking about, X, Y, and Z. So I've seen enough Ariel, I've seen enough Jasmine to know that if you push these things in this way to young women, especially young women that are your daughters, it's not going to be received well.
So how do you feel if like...
I don't feel anything.
Okay, you don't feel anything. That's fine. What would be your take if your daughter gets married and he's a high value man and he's cheating on her? And she comes to you in a sense like, Dad, this is how I'm feeling. This is what's going on. Like, what do I do?
Well, as I said, I can offer her some fatherly advice in the situation.
Can you give us an example?
No, because what tends to happen is people use this particular argument to try to see if I can change my position.
No, it's not even a change in position.
I know, but see, this is a very, I know it's
because there's a lot of men who are fathers and they think about that and they're like, wait, how do I,
exactly.
And that would be a realm of like, you know how many, like a lot of men have daughters out there and maybe they don't know how to have that conversation or like how to seek some sense of comfort for a young female girl going out into the world.
The best way to have an open ear of a woman is if she's experienced. So a lot of times if I tell her, obviously that's going to be a situation where she'd be more likely to listen. But anybody that's ever been a father and had young women, and of course I'm sure you have a father, and to Hafiz's point, we probably saved a lot of men from being single fathers or at-risk fathers. At this point, when you're dealing with young women, they need to get the experience first until they have an open ear. With men, on the other hand, because they have a lot of places to turn to, but I wouldn't use my content and then try to frame it in a position of what I would do with my daughter, because that's a kind of a personal situation, right? It's a personal situation, because that way then you say, oh, are you telling this guy not marry your daughter and to cheat on your... No, because my daughter, same way as I wouldn't date my daughter, but I could date people in that daughter's range once she's 20, 25, 30. So it's not the same thing.
Gotcha.
Do you want your daughter to get married, yes or no, or you're not going to answer that question?
She can get married if she would like to.
Do you want her to?
I don't think it's necessary in this age. No.
For a woman?
For a woman.
Absolutely not.
Okay. You don't think it's necessary for a woman to get married?
Why?
Western marriage, there's no longer a necessity for it. Unless you were looking out for something in the future, potentially if you want to have children. So if she said, hey, I'm looking to get married, I want to have kids, I'd probably say the best context would be to get married. But that doesn't mean get married to anyone. You see what I mean? There are ways that I can level this. Do I want her to get married? Yes or no? Who is she marrying? When? Where? How long? There's a whole bunch of context.
But to me,
it's just not a yes or no question.
So, Hafiz, what's your issue with this? Go ahead.
So it's always an interesting conversation, because to me, like one of the things I'm obsessed with, and Dr. Peterson talks about this so well, is that the more your words are in line with the truth, the more powerful those words are. And I don't know where you are, if you believe in God or not. I don't know who kind of person you are, but like when you line your words up with God, like that's when, to me, your words have the most weight. Dr. Peterson, that's why I feel like he's so powerful. His words transcend humanity and it speaks on this divine level. And so to me, when you're giving advice, your advice has to be as in line with what God believes the world should run as possible. And so to me, the best advice benefits men and benefits women. That's the best advice. To your opinion, we have 70 years of advice only benefiting women and men suffering as because of it. That is a lie. That is wrong. And the opposite extreme is wrong as well. A world where it all benefits men and the women don't benefit, it's wrong. That's why it's about the balance. And so to me, I'm very curious I love her questions because it was like, it's not a gotcha question. It was a genuine, serious question. Shout out my guy, AMS. I love AMS. He did a video about, advice I would give to my daughter where he actually answers the questions directly. And so to me, I'm very interested in those questions because like when I would watch Kevin Samuels and God Rest the Dead, and it was so powerful because he would always push women to being married because he knew the beauty and the value and the protection and the safety like being a woman and being married. Nobody wants their daughter to be 41 years old, single, baby mama of 3. Nobody wants that for their daughter, especially if they want kids. So to me, I think the part of the conversation needs to be, is this information benefiting both human beings? When you're on Team Men, it only needs to benefit Team Men. If you're on Team Republican, it only needs to benefit Team Republican. If you're on Team America, it has to benefit all Americans. If you're on Team Human, it has to benefit both males and females. So that's why I loved her questions because I think the best, I can give my hardcore advice to benefit men, and I know without a shadow of a doubt, the most hardcore advice that benefits men simultaneously benefits women.
One more thing I'll add to that, and I hope I don't mean to offend you. There's no God in marriage in the United States, so that's kind of misleading, and people will find that out if your marriage is destroyed. You go back to your pastor and you say, hey, my marriage is being destroyed. He has no power over that because it is a state agreement. So I will bring you back to make sure you understand, and I counsel men, there's no God in marriage. That's been gone. Listen, it was an old idea. It's absolutely gone unless you live in an American South. So most people on the West Coast, many people in the East, Midwest, there's no God in marriage. So
we break that down. What do you mean there's no God in marriage?
There's no God in marriage. So people get married. One of the things that they will do is they will seek counsel of the church. And then as such, the guys will give them guidance and it will be biblical principle. However, they will say we can't do anything until you sign this state-sponsored agreement with family law context, all right? They're not going to have a Bible in there. They're not going to have a Bible in that divorce court. The judge is not going to ask you, do you like God? And what about God in your marriage? There will be no context to that. And such, what is the overriding principle here?
Does he
your
have a
marriage
point there,
is state funded, not God funded.
He just made a random point that
I didn't make it random. I told you that this will offend you, and it's now offended you.
What did I say? No, it didn't offend me. You're just wrong. Let me say what
I'm wrong. Wait.
Let me finish.
I'm absolutely right.
Let me finish.
There's no God in the marriage in the United States.
Then you can talk. Let me finish.
No, hold for a second.
Let me finish.
Are you going to say there's no God in marriage in the United States?
Coach, finish your point. You're saying there's no God in marriage in the United States.
Correct.
Got it.
That was his point. So I can now I'm going to talk. So I made a point and I said, if your truth aligns with God, that truth is most powerful. That's what I said. If your truth aligns with God, meaning the word that you speak aligns with God, those words are the most powerful. Then he made a point saying there is no God in marriage. So first, that's a semantic thing because God is everywhere. Whether God chooses to supervene in things or not, I will never be the person that says God is not here. I will never be the person that says God is not present here. Could we argue that is God blessing every American Western marriage? Of course not. Of course, God is not blessing every American, but God is definitely in my parents' marriage. So when you say there is absolute statements, there is no God in marriage. False. Correct. There is no God in some marriages. There is no God in most marriages in regards to by being there no God, meaning that God's not blessing it, right? So if you're saying that God is not blessing what's happening in most marriages, that is a true statement. But to say there is no God in marriages, period, that is a false statement because God is in my marriage and God is also in my parents' marriage. And I will continue to say, when it comes to even understanding the ideas of God, God gives human beings free will. It's a very simple concept. You can freely sin or you can freely obey. And God, like a good father, if you want to touch the stove, you can touch the stove. And so to me, I just think when people make statements like this, how do you expect people to feel? There is no God.
I don't expect anybody to feel. I want them to know. I want them to understand. We want them to know we can't feel anything.
I'm talking, and then you get the opportunity to talk. So to me, it's how do you expect people to react? And so my biggest thing is that what I'm only communicating in regards to the marriages is that if you are a man, do your due diligence. Be able to see if she fits your life. Be able to see what is her family background. You can't protect yourself 100% from business failure, from friendship failure, from anything in life. But there is wisdom, there is godly principles that you can adhere to that can benefit you. But there's no absolute guarantees that everything in life will be successful. No one's teaching anybody that.
But and I'm not the most religious person here, so let me just give that disclaimer out there. You either,
right?
But
Yeah.
How I feel like God is all faith. It's all. I believe in this, and no matter what you tell me, you're not going to convince me otherwise, because this is what I believe. I'm sure that there's tons of marriages out there that they believe, they go to church every Sunday, and then next thing you know, they get divorced, and God was in their marriage. So I'm just trying to establish what a godless marriage is, or God-filled marriage is, like how that genuinely curiosity, like how that works, because he's saying no. I think what Coach is basically saying is like, look, I don't care if you're going to church every Sunday or not. At the end of the day, your marriage is between you, your significant other, and the state.
Right here on earth.
Forget about it.
Not in the clouds. And
that's essentially what he's saying.
Did you ask him a question, or
no?
I'm
just bringing this out to the panel.
What we tell people is that hope is not a strategy. All right, hope is not a strategy in anything. I hope my business goes well. I hope I don't get injured today. I hope I succeed today. We tell people real life principles, all right? We don't live in the clouds. We live here on earth, whether you believe this is heaven or hell. So I want you guys to understand you're dealing with earth here. This is a reality.
Are you a believer?
Absolutely not.
No. You're not a believer of God?
No.
Okay, but obviously, Hafiz, you are.
Yeah, and
Were you ever a believer?
So how can you say that?
Here's the deal. What tends to happen is people are introduced to things based on someone else's biases. Okay, and those biases are introduced to children and so forth and so on. So yes, at some point, that was the only story I knew until I investigated on my own, decided as a man what principles to stand on, and then realized I don't live by hope. I don't live by cope. I live with what's real here. Okay. And let's talk about what's real instead of the mystique of this damn thing here. What's real is hope is not a strategy.
So if you don't, I love it. Can I address it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So first and foremost, like I said, it's very interesting. I've always told you got to hear someone's background, and then you know where they lean. That's where you know where their advice gears towards. So it's such a even when I talk about God. Like the idea of God in his brain is not the idea I'm talking about. It's this interesting verse in the Bible. I won't get too lost in the sauce in the book of Isaiah where God is somebody's like farming, and he's talking about the intricacies of farming. And he says, even that wisdom comes from God. God is not the God of get married happily ever after. That's foolishness. God gives you wisdom. What is the wisdom? Actually do premarital counseling. What is the wisdom? Actually be able to decide, okay, if things don't work out, what are we going to do? Where are the kids going to go? What's the money going to go? Things going to work out. Who's going to be the primary breadwinner? Who's not? God gives you the wisdom to be intelligent, to be able to navigate. Hope is not a strategy. 100% right. Hope is not a strategy. But God's message is not just simply blind hope. It's wisdom. Literally, Jesus said, be as wise as a serpent, but as innocent as a dove. You have to understand what does a serpent do? He's able to navigate on this earth. So 100% right. No one's teaching hope as a strategy. That's a straw man argument. True godly wisdom is relevant. True godly wisdom is what made Adam a millionaire. True godly wisdom is what made Patrick Bet-David build this amazing company. It's actual practical step-by-step guidance that benefits people's lives. So no one's talking about hope being a strategy. Simply pray to God and your marriage is going to work out. That's foolishness. What did I say? Naivete, nihilism, realism is in the middle. No one's saying being naive. So when I'm talking about godliness in marriage, those are certain principles and wisdoms. Is it going to be that if you follow God, you will never get a divorce? No. There's nothing in life where nothing bad is going to happen. You can do everything the right way and the wrong thing can still happen. But does that mean you should do things the wrong way? Absolutely not. And so my biggest thing is that we need to give men as much practical wisdom, and women as well, give them as much practical wisdom that can build a healthy, successful marriage. When he talks about don't get married without leverage, I guarantee if he expounds upon leverage, those are all godly principles. Those are all biblical principles that what he's going to describe in what he defines as leverage, being masculine, you know what I mean, protecting your assets, all the things he would describe as leverage, that is godly wisdom. He may not view it as godly because his view of God is just some old white man in the clouds telling telling you to simply just do whatever you want, right? But to me, true godly wisdom is relevant. It's practical. It improves lives because, like Jordan Peterson said, it's in line with the truth. And if you're in line with the truth, they can give you the best case scenario. Not a perfect life, but the best life.
You should have been a preacher, brother. You could have killed that thing. I appreciate that. Let me ask Aly a question. You said, are you a believer?
I've never been exposed to religion, so
you're not in religion whatsoever.
I don't want to.
So I'm gonna frame this. I don't want to be inappropriate. You don't believe in God. However, you are married for the past 22 years. So you're in I'm just gonna use air quotes, godless marriage, right? You also
I wouldn't call it godless.
Okay. You also do OnlyFans. So there's gonna be possibly people on this panel that are gonna say you're sinning.
I respect that. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Again, zero judgment here. I don't give a shit. I've dated an OnlyFans girl. I've dated girls who go to church. I'll date all your girls. I don't give a shit. Okay? I'm human. So when you hear God, no God, sinner, OnlyFans, work, marriage, let's just say, God's looking down, and let's say Aly and Steve are married for the next 50 years. They have this amazing, beautiful marriage. They've got kids. They've made millions. She's blessed the world with kids and grandkids, and they've been married forever. Amazing. And at the same time, OnlyFans and coveting other wives, everything that kind of goes with that. Like, how do essentially, I'm asking Hafiz this, but I'll let you answer first. How do you, grapple with those two polarizing opposites?
Yeah, I would say our home life and our family structure. I do believe in the nuclear family. I believe in, husband and wife. And I think there's probably quite a few godly principles in our home and the way that we feel that are morally and ethically the right way to do things. That's not come from any exposure to religion. It's just what I personally believe is the right way to do things and wrong. And I grew up in a crap home, crap parents, terrible life. And my husband, same thing. So we didn't really have anyone to mold or model that off of. But I would say our home, it definitely runs that way. For me to balance the two, a lot of people are fascinated by my story because of all the money I make and yada yada and what I'm doing and how do I do it. I'm always more fascinated by how am I the exception to this, right? Because how does a healthy marriage, because I would consider my marriage healthy. We have a great family. We raised our children. Everything's wonderful. How does this even intertwine into our life, and how do we manage it? And how does my life is it still so normal family in a way? I mean, behind what we're doing behind closed doors is what we were doing anyway. We just have a camera now. But I'm more interested in that aspect and the psychology of it, because I think like I said, I can't really label my principles in our household because I don't have a religion and I don't oppose to anyone. I just always live my life by what I feel and what, my husband and I, what we feel is the right way to do things. And I think a lot of people get really hung up on labels and got to do this. Well, there's these, and I've never wanted to live that way and I never have. And so for me, I feel like I am my own religion. And that's just the way, the principles that we've chosen.
I think what's so interesting about your story is that it's hard to pin you down. It's like, well, women need to be, obedient and subservient to their husbands. You're like, well, I kind of am. I'm a house,
That's what we're doing together.
Right? And, women need to be sexy for their husbands. Well, every day, baby. Yeah. Right? And women shouldn't do OnlyFans. It's like, well, I do, and I make a lot of money from it, but I'm also married, so it's like it's very hard to pin you down and say, well, you should do this. It's like, well, it's working for me.
Oh, and a lot of people say, oh, yeah, she has no education, she'll go broke. It's like, I have a doctorate degree. Like, I'm an incredibly intelligent woman. I've done my career. I was in the medical field, and I weighed my options at that point. And of course, a lot of it, I was pushed out of the situation, unfortunately. And I'm not going to play a victim. I seen your show about OnlyFans and victims, and I don't play
Hafiz's or Coach?
Coaches. You had a episode on that about OnlyFans girls playing the victim when their stories come out. And I had a very viral story. I certainly don't play the victim, but I do feel that I was obviously pushed out too early from what I wanted to do. I was very.
You would still be being a nurse right now.
Absolutely. I mean, I literally graduated the same month that they let me go. Like, I got my doctorate degree. I was going on to do nursing research. So for me, I think a lot of people look at that, and to me, it's just more I'm really interested in how that shift happened, but. People think that we have some chaotic life at home and like things are just running wild, swinging from ropes. And I'm like, it's a very, very normal household, and nothing has changed except there's a camera.
It's a very unique situation.
Very unique.
Go ahead. Final word for you, and then we'll move on to the next topic. I sent you a clip that I sent you on Tyler.
No, I think to me, like, kind of even hearing what she was sharing. Obviously, disagree with some of the OnlyFans stuff, but it's my personal opinion. Who cares? But it's like, there's certain principles that I consider godly principles that if you implement them, your relationship will be successful. If you're forgiving, if you're kind, if you're servant-hearted, like there's just certain things that, like I said, it's like no matter, these are what I consider godly principles. So if you're choosing a partner, because you asked about what leads to divorce, I guarantee when you find out what leads to success, forgiveness, right, servant-heartedness and gratitude. Right, and all these things are godly things, and if a person has that, I think you'll be able to have a healthy relationship in the long run.
And have you always been a man of faith? Like, you were raised that way?
No. I mean, I was raised that way, but I became a Christian, which is interesting enough. I wasn't raised in the church. People think I was raised in the church. No, I came to believe as an adult male on my own, studying the Bible, studying the Word of God. And like, to me, the reason why I'm so passionate about this, because God is really real to me. And I respect how you feel, but like, I know it's like if someone has never experienced love, there's no way you can convince them that love exists. If someone has never experienced God, it's like God is just an ethereal thing that grandma told you back in the day to make you behave yourself. Yeah. So God is extremely real for me. I experienced God in 19. He really transformed my life. He's why I'm even here today.
What was your aha moment to
Man, I think to
realize God was in your life?
Long story short, like when I realized He was in my life, I think when I was 19 years old, I wanted to play college football. I was playing college football. I was a typical guy, college football player. You know, I was finally getting girls at that time. And then I just realized that, man, like I realized that my entire life I lived for me. And then I realized there was something greater than myself. And then like I realized if I followed God, like it could totally transform the way I lived, and especially for obviously what Christ did on the cross. And so to me, when I became a believer, everything changed. I got smarter. People are like, oh my gosh, you can talk so well. I wasn't always like this. Like when I actually became a believer, that's when I got smarter. That's when I got more intelligent. So to me, all of this, like, that's why God is so real to me, because I know the reason I'm sitting down here talking to you and having this amazing conversation is because of God. And so I understand where He's coming from, that because God is not real for him. Obviously, his life experiences has shown him otherwise, but I'm just really passionate about it because I just want people to experience the best thing possible. And for me, if it's God, I want other people to experience it as well.
Coach, final word on this entire conversation. You can wrap it up, and then we're going to go to play this clip. You got that?
Yeah. What particular part? What do you want
to talk
about?
You're not a believer whatsoever.
No, okay. I respect everybody's belief system. I've taken a lot of classes and understand the world is very, very large and vast. People have a lot of belief systems. So, my biases about my spirituality is going to be kept at home because this is a journey and walk that I would have by my own. I don't go out and preach to other people about how they should live because in their world or their neck of the woods, that's just not the reality. So I just leave that and respect people's position on it. And there ain't no need to argue it because we all going to find out one way or another. When that bell tolls, you're going to find out one way or another.
Way to end that one. That's it. Boom, short clip. Done. Nat, I put a video up there. This is Coach talking about, I hope this is the correct video about, let's just make sure production room that we get the audio and good to go. But I think this is the clip that I wanted to discuss with Coach about what's basically going on with social media today and what you would call the young men versus young women social media disparity. Can we play this clip?
Yes, I'm going to play now.
Group, young girls develop, they're gonna get a lot of attention. Young boys are simply not. He's gonna witness his female counterparts on TikTok, 10,000 followers, 20,000, 30,000, million followers. What does that do to the dynamics and the hierarchy on campus? Can he get this girl now? He has no chance, and he's gonna grow up with them through high school believing I have no chance at women. The self-esteem of this kid is going to get killed. The only thing he can reach out now to are Instagram thoughts and pornography. At a certain age.
Yeah. So very interesting conversation here. Okay. And this will have so basically, if I can sum up what you're saying, 21-year-old guy, 21-year-old girl, 21, maybe you're, a senior in college. Maybe you've been working for a couple of years as a guy. 21-year-old female, same exact situation. Maybe you're a senior in college. Maybe you're been working for a couple of years. The only difference is as a woman, you can kind of get a lot of eyeballs out there on the social media platforms. Like it's taken me hard work to get to where I'm at right now. And a girl does the exact same thing. All she has to do is put some bikini pictures out there. Much easier for a woman. And you're basically saying it for a 21-year-old comparing himself, trying to get another 21-year-old female. Oh man, life is going to be tough for you, brother.
It's a little bit tougher than when I grew up in the olden days, in a time where a woman probably wouldn't get maybe 3 men in their entire city or county or neighborhood or school. If that, she might go to the rival high school potentially and get some attention. Now, it's a little bit more vast. There's a lot more choice for her.
Global sexual marketplace.
And here's the funny thing. My young lady here, Natalia, she mentioned this earlier because she's in the dating minefield. She says, she has a lot of options. I get a lot of offers.
Both ways, too.
She's beautiful.
And she should. And what we have to understand is, as young men, this is where I position myself as young men, typically 70% of men tend to be invisible to the world until they, as you said, put in 20 years worth of work. And then it's easy for you to hop on social media with the Bugatti and the Lamborghini, and you handsome and you got your beard in and you got all of that stuff. Oh, you can jump on now and you can get a lot of attention. But that's a waiting game that men at this particular point, I'm going to say, based on the pornography industry being $1 billion industry, we know young men are consuming it. Based on Instagram, I can put a post up on Instagram. Ain't nobody going to like it. But if a young woman just comes in and gives her what Mother Nature has blessed her with, or what the miracles of modern science has injected into her, now she going to get a whole bunch of attention. And then that puts me in that same age group at a significant disadvantage that people aren't addressing. I don't like when people complain about it. I just present it as a reality of the situation. And until the porn industry becomes bankrupt, my opinion is going to be true.
Well, what about athletes now? So male athletes get far more attention. They get far more attention than women, and that's another thing off their what God grace gave them is their athletic abilities.
It's the same thing.
And it's the same thing. And I also have to ask, your Instagram thought comment. Obviously, I'm on Instagram. I post bikini pics.
TikTok.
And TikTok thought, whatever it is. Am I Instagram TikTok thought to you? I mean, am I the person you're just, when you say that, am I the category? Or is
that's how you make your money, right? That's how you butter your bread.
What is a thought to you?
Hold on, let me come back. Let me come back and answer something here. When we talk about athletes and male athletes, I actually addressed this, and I addressed it this morning.
Far more.
Male athletes tend to fall into the same category as female people who get attention. However,
I think they're way upper echelon.
Watch this. What percentage of men are successful female athletes versus
successful female?
Successful male athletes. Sorry.
Today.
What percentage? Let me say this again.
Can of worms here.
Let me say it again. What percentage?
I'm the best WNBA player out there.
Correct. Yeah.
Facts.
I knew it.
Let me say it
again.
I'm
the worst NBA player.
What percentage of males are successful male athletes? Very small.
0.0001%.
Very small. Now, what percentage of young girls jumped on TikTok and went on there and got 100,000?
What do you consider successful, though? Because there's a lot of people that have millions of followers, and I know some of these girls, they don't make nothing. Like, that's not
that's
the
trap. Well,
I don't even have that much followers. They would never think I make the money.
But that is the trap that I'm trying to make you aware. See, we showed a 20-second clip, and you're trying to jump all of this, and you're saying, what about this and what about that?
Well, you said Instagram thoughts. You said TikTok thoughts.
But that doesn't mean you're making money. That doesn't mean you're making money. You could just be getting attention. And
is that a problem if a woman gets attention? Men get attention from various things. Was that a problem?
Very small percentage of men get attention in comparison. I mean, this is not even an argument. I mean, listen, you could probably agree.
No, I would agree.
This
as
is
a woman.
Absolutely agree. The normal average woman can get way more attention than a male normal average male, which puts the percentages at, if we just want to be general, 70% of the men are consuming and paying attention to a majority of women, as opposed to the opposite. When it comes to women on social media, they are producers more than they are consumers. And if they do consume, they might be consuming a makeup channel. They might be consuming something else. They're not consuming the vast majority of male athletes that have even succeeded, because even those guys have to jump through hoops and hurdles when he jumps in his DM. That woman probably would get more attention if she made a video and said, these basketball players are in my DMs, as opposed to her even getting married to that guy today. That's where the problem is.
Coach, let me hone in on this, because I want to tell you a story. But is your the reason that you're doing this is to do what? To basically inform men, hey guys, you're gonna have to get in line and wait your turn.
Yeah, well,
you're gonna have to grow up and become the man.
I mean, because that was an hour and a half speech that they took that 20 seconds from.
Well, that's how
there's more. Exactly.
Okay.
So the broader argument is money, energy, attention, and time.
Gotcha.
Over time, men have to kind of work for their position in
Yes.
life. And this isn't a complaint. A lot of people think, oh, these red pill guys are complaining. It ain't going to be any different anytime soon, especially with social media. But the reality is you're going to have to put in that work. You're going to have to apply yourself to get to that position because at the time, and I also tell men, the generation of women that you're trying to date, they're not your women.
Correct.
I say that. That's not
what do you mean by that?
Which means you're going after, you're a 21-year-old man. You're trying to impress a 21-year-old woman who has access to a whole bunch. I say really focus on yourself. And then when you're 30, go get a 21-year-old because at that point you have the what? Leverage and options.
Let me give you one story, okay, of why I appreciate what you're saying with this, okay? I'm 18 years old. I'm a senior in high school. There's this girl at a different high school that I am obsessed with, okay? I'm like, yo, bro, what's up with so-and-so? You know, I'm telling I'm like, this is, we don't have cell phones. We got social media. I'm trying to use like old school carrier pigeon for my boy to holler on my behalf. Okay. Exactly. And, this girl deserved a lot of attention at the time. Okay. Rightfully so. At that time, she was 17. I was 18. Okay. Long story short, I find out that, sorry, bro, she's not interested. She's dating so-and-so who's already in college that's driving a BMW, and I'm like, life's not fair, bro. I love this girl. I can't believe it. Like, life sucks. Fast forward, I see that same girl at a birthday party for a friend of mine's 40th birthday party. Okay, and I'm like, and I go, wow, she don't look so good.
No.
I said, oh, life's been kind of rough to this girl. Great girl, but I'm glad that I didn't get what I wanted when I was 18 years old, okay? And since then, I've gotten that girl times 10, a million, okay? But guys are very myopic. When you're 18, you want that. Oh my God, I want that.
Right.
If you're willing to wait the time and invest and improve upon yourself when you're 30 or when you're 40 and your sexual market value peak and you've taken care of, your physicality, your mentality, your pocketbooks. Now the world's your oyster. It's just very hard when you're young to realize that.
Well, it's hard, and also you have Mother Nature and Father Time playing a cruel game on you, hyping you up on testosterone, which is a powerful drug, which is a need for you to have it now. And a lot of guys don't want to wait. They don't want to hear me say, slow down.
No.
Slow down. They like, I want it now. Tell me how to get it now.
Exactly.
And then you kind of get walked down a trap that you cannot dig out of, or it might take you 20 years to dig out of.
And here's the difference between back then and now is that there was no social media then.
Right.
So she was getting hollered at by the 21-year-old cool guy that picked her up in the BMW. Now it's that guy, and I lived in Miami, so that guy in Miami is hollering at her. But now it's guys in Dubai, in Australia, in Europe, in London, offering these women everything.
Yeah. It's tough.
So women have the advantage. Allie, you're gorgeous, you're married, don't get offended. Women have the advantage from 18 to 29. They're hot, they're young, they're beautiful, they're vibrant, they got the advantage. Men have the advantage 30 plus. 30 plus. Because it's going to take time to become the man that you need to become.
The maturity level. I think even in my marriage, I mean, I'm matured faster than my husband. I mean, certainly I think women, we start from little girls wanting to be married with baby. I just feel like women do, and I think even medically, like women mature quicker than men. And so I think even when a woman is 22, if she's not in her 22, if she's more of an advanced, it takes the man a little bit longer before I feel like that leverages out, which I do see why a lot of women, kind of as you get past 35 for men, it just becomes more successful in terms of relationships and stuff. I think young men and young women at the same time is just a disaster.
Well, I always try to look at terms and things of money and finance, and I'm always telling young people, stop day trading. Okay, day trading is not, if you're thinking short-term day trading, I'm up, I'm down, it's like, now I'm a big advocate of decade trading. I started investing in 2008, 2009 at the bottom of the market, and every year I've just been throwing money in, and it's turned into a lot of freaking money. But if you can kind of use that analogy for life and relationships, it's like, yeah, you might not be getting a lot of action now or on eyeballs now. Just wait 5 years, wait 10 years, let it marinate, improve upon yourself. You'll see what happens. Like, your mindset is so much different than when you were 19, right?
Yeah. Of course, no. And I think it's really good. And like I said, it's always an interesting relationship because so much of the wisdom, and I love that part because I'm all about personal accountability, right? And I think sometimes it's like we talk about what cannot be controlled. And I love what Coach Greg Adams just talked about as a man, what can you do? Okay, like we've watched 100,000 Problems with Women Today videos. You know the market is difficult. You know the SMV. You know the graphs. You know everything. What now? Mm-hmm. And that's the part where I'm obsessed with, right? Mm-hmm. And I love that information about actually now, how can we become better as men? How can you make yourself more desirable? How can you make yourself more competent, successful, overall a better individual? And so that's what I'm consumed about. And so I really appreciate you sharing that. I think what's important for the guys to realize is in life, there's things you can control. And there's things that you can't control. If you're going to fight the system and things you can't control, you're going to be miserable. But if you can control what you can control and build yourself up to be a better man, every man can have a better life, and that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Let me. Are you guys familiar with the M.E.A.T that we have? Super chats? Yeah. All right, cool. We'll get to that in a second. We've developed an app here at Valuetainment where you can ask questions, right? I think you guys should all be on it. By the way, we'll talk after this, where people can ask you questions and you can give advice. I think all three of you would be amazing giving advice out there. I got this question. Okay, I'm not going to put this dude's information out there.
I'm just
no. But he asked me a question. He's basically saying, "Hey, look, I'm 23 years old. I'm making good money. Okay, I'm debt free. I've saved up, but I'm really lacking in the relationship department." He's saying he's a virgin, and in fact, he's actually never been kissed, which is kind of intense situation, age 23. And, I had to give him advice. And I'm like, yo, bro, kind of gave the shit sandwich. Like, congratulations, you're making money. Good for you. Congratulations. Keep up the good work. That's, a part of the battle. It's part of the equation. Now as far as your relationships go, and he said, listen, I'm not Brad Pitt, but I'm not bad looking either. I respect, awareness, very important for a guy. But then he said he didn't have a lot of friends, like guy friends. Okay, that was kind of part of the reason. And I was like, well, look, naturally, most people will say, well, get out there and go start picking up chicks, bro. I said, listen, you need to develop a good network of homies to go out with. Because if you're with good friends and you've got a good support system, the homies, the squad, we all know this, you guys will run into a crew of chicks, 2, 3, 4 girls, and good things will happen. But it starts with you. You're making the money, check. Maybe you're a little overweight, kind of got to deal with that. All right, cool. But, I had to give this guy advice. I've never met him. He's probably listening like, oh my God, I'm so freaking embarrassed. But from each of your perspectives, what advice would you give? You know nothing about this guy other than what I've told you. What advice would you give him? Coach, you want to go first?
Oh, man, I got to see a picture of this guy.
I know.
I
can't put him out there like that.
Smile.
Yeah. Man, because oftentimes when you're giving advice, you're giving a couple of points, and then when you start peeling that onion, all right, you see there's layers and layers to this, and there's something going on there. Yeah. But I can't really describe it. I don't know many 23-year-old male virgins making 6 figures, but there could be. So I would want to know more. Yes. But if you're just asking me what advice I can give them on this one is understand what manipulation is. You're a prime target. So you fall into a small a category of not that many 23-year-olds are successful and that are virgins and never kissed a girl.
That's why I was like, what? What's going on here?
You're a big old target. You're a big old fat, juicy ass target. Right. And I think if you make a decision based on your feelings and not being logical about it, you could be led the wrong way. What he could do is what we call go to the junior college. He can go over to the junior college and have a little bit of fun. My audience knows what that is.
What's the junior college?
The place with the daycare workers.
Right? He can go get him a little comfort. He can go get a little bit of comfort and have somebody rub his leg. Somebody at a young variety that might.
What I call the shrimp club.
Yeah, he can go over there. He can go over there.
That was masked so well.
Yeah,
it's like, what are we talking about?
He can get him a service provider and then pay her about an hour, and then he can have his every wish is granted.
You know what's crazy?
That's what he can do.
I'm cool with that advice.
Yeah,
go get your
leg
some experience out there.
Yeah.
Get a hug out there.
Get a hug
at the shrimp.
Get one of them Instagram thoughts. Right?
Yeah, you can go with the thoughts. You want me to come back to that, don't you?
I do, because I understand your message. Like, everybody's got their thing, and I'm not hating on that, but there's a way to present things, and then when you come out that bold, like, Instagram thought, like, you're basically labeling all girls on Instagram who are bikinis, the acting that way is like a thought. And so I don't see myself that way. Obviously, I'm triggered. I'm a little triggered. I'm a little triggered, and I guess what is with the bitterness with men caring about how much attention that men are giving women? Like we're getting it from men.
Go ahead. Go handle that. Bring the God into it, then let her know.
Yeah, you bring God into it. I am a straight.
By the way, now I believe it. Go ahead.
Is this helping our 23-year-old friend here?
Yeah, she want to know. She want to know. But I'll tell you one thing. Go ahead.
Okay. You want us to give him advice? You want us to? It's your show.
Let's give this guy advice, and then let's go back to Aly's comments, and then we'll wrap up.
I think Coach I love what he said at the beginning because there's so many layers to it, right? In my opinion, he's a tech guy. If he's making that much money at that such a young age, he's not a lawyer, he's not a doctor. He has to be a tech guy, right? For him to have a career making that much, but not just making money off the stock market, got to be a tech guy. Tech guys are really low with social skills. That's why he's a virgin. That's why he never kissed a girl. So I love your advice about the community of men that he needs to be around, because that's really what's important, right? Yeah. Because even to Coach's point, he can go to maybe a Columbia and meet some daycare workers, if you know what I mean. But the reality of it,
I was just in Columbia. A lot of daycare workers. Shout out to all the daycare workers in Columbia.
But the reality of it is he'll come back to America and he's now playing D1. So he might get some junior college reps, but you're still not ready to play D1, right?
Right.
So I love your advice where it's like, yo, find some great men and be around them and actually build yourself up. Because the problem is you think you're not good enough because you haven't kissed a girl or you haven't had sex with a girl. You have strong identity issues. And the quickest way of ruining that is to find a woman. And because if he finds a girl and he has sex and she gives him sex and a kiss, He's whipped.
Gone.
You know it. Coach knows it. He's whipped.
True.
He has no identity. He has no backbone. She's
going to own that man.
Absolutely.
She will.
That's what he's saying. He's a sitting duck.
And then what Coach said, he has no leverage.
Yes.
The leverage as a man is having the confidence, having the community, having the support system. So I think your advice head on. Find guys, build that confidence, build the community, build who you are, and then I guarantee you, when you start beginning to interact with women, because in due time, if you're around winners, women go around men who are winning. There's that old school red pill line that women just wait at the finish line, right? If you're with your guys and you guys are winning, women will come around and then you can navigate it then, but you got to build yourself up first.
Here's something else that guys will do. I don't know if girls do this. Yeah. If let's say the three of us are going out, right? And I'm in this suit and you're in that suit. I'm picking on Coach for a second. We're going out and I go, Coach, what's the deal, homie? Like we're suited and booted, and you're looking like you're about to coach a basketball game, and you're like, "Yo, I'm a coach, homie. I mean, I get it." But we'll call you out. We'll say, "Go ahead, change." Like the running joke that I have is anytime that I go out in South Beach and I bring people out, and every once in a while a dude shows up in shorts, I'm just like, "Go home, go home, go home." And he's like, "What do you mean? Like I'll just go change?" I'm like, "No. You got to change what's going on up here. Like, go home.
If you want to kick it with me, that's not how it's
exactly.
going to be.
Like, you're showing up in shorts and flip-flops to a club. It's like, go home. And they get the memo. Okay, but the point is, guys will hey, bro, like, you smell. Like, bro, you're fat.
And it may
clean
come
it
off
up
as
a little
harsh.
bit.
It may come
but
out
that's
as
how
harsh.
guys operate.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying he needs to go. Okay, there
coming back to you.
Which we will tee up. Anyway, let's give this young man advice, and then we'll let you go one-on-one with Coach Craig.
I love the advice
23-year-old man.
Of being around other men, because like you said, he's probably a tech guy who's immersed himself in his career and done great. I mean, he's 23, he's where he's at. I think he probably doesn't realize just how prime he truly is. I mean, given that he's successful, he's tackled the career aspect of it. So to go out with other guys that can show him like, okay, here's how the game is played. Yeah. I think that would be the wisest advice too.
Needs a mentor.
He needs a mentor, 100%. And he'll pick up on things, and he'll get rejected, and then sometime he'll have some wins, and I think you learn from that experience of what works and what doesn't.
He needs someone to be like, listen, you're a fucking dweeb, okay? I love you, you're my homie. But girls aren't trying to bang the dweeb.
Fit the bill,
Start, getting a little more alpha. All right, before we wrap up and get to super chats, Aly, just so I can tee you up here, you took some issue with Coach Greg and the thought comment.
Yeah, people.
Okay.
Look, I've been called far worse.
Sure
okay, I'm a horrible mother. I'm the devil. You know what it is. No, it's not that. I just like to. You kind of skated a little bit in Natalia's questions, and then you're on YouTube calling Instagram girls thoughts. I feel like you gotta own some of your stuff. You gotta if you're gonna say it, if it's for views, it's for clicks. If it's because it gives people that factor, it is what it is. I get it. I'm in content creation, but I feel like you gotta hold you to that, and you gotta what is it that. Just because someone's on Instagram getting attention, why does that got to be thought? And what is a thought to you?
If I did that for you?
I thought it's
on you.
No, let me go. I'm gonna handle it. You can go ahead and follow up.
Yeah.
So what it's Aly, right? Allie would like a wonderful description and me for write a book of how to describe these women. And of course, it's not to slander you. It's a description. I just described who you were, and people can immediately associate it with it. So if I have a few seconds to grab your attention, I can describe it as an Instagram thought, and everybody knows what it is. So I don't have time to be like, well, this young lady who got her titty out, and this one over here who got the butt out, and this one over here who done plumped her lips, and this one over here who stripped her for the camera. I don't have time for that. And so thus I have to give it a name, and I can say TikTok, because that's what my app's popularity is. It's for those hoes over there. And so that's what the
So you're describing it as a girl on one of these platforms who's either shaking it or doing something for attention. That's your idea of a thought.
And or money, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the quote, but it's shake it, but don't break it. Took your mama 9 months to make it. That's a famous, that's Uncle Luke, all right?
Yeah.
You learned that in kindergarten if growing up in Miami.
Kindergarten.
But anyway, did that make sense?
No, I mean, that's how you describe that. I just
Did you know what I was talking about? If I say Instagram thought, do
100%,
you immediately know?
I think it's just when I think of thought, I think of promiscuity, and it may just be my perception of thought. And so when I hear that, I'm like, well, not every girl that's on TikTok or that's on Instagram in a bikini is acting in that way in life. I mean, I'm a married woman. I don't sleep around with other people. So that was my perception of the word. So that's why for me.
Aly, we've already established that you are an anomaly.
Right.
That's what sucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think a thought is not necessarily someone who's doing an act at that moment, right? We don't know what she's doing after she puts the phone down. So the reality is she may not be promiscuous. Odds are she is to be able to cross that line. However, promiscuity and thought, I don't think goes hand in hand. She's selling, she's advertising. So at that particular point, you're a car salesman. And if you tell me, well, I actually am a distributor of motor vehicles, you're a car salesman. All right. At the end of the day,
Coach, I just got to ask you. You're single. You're successful. Life's good. You know, from the mustache up, you look young. From the mustache down.
Hey man, the younger girls at the junior college, they love all
I'm
this.
sure
Boy. They be rubbing all this. Yeah.
What type of women do you date now?
Well, I don't date. I mate. You know, I practice the art of mating. But dating to me is dead in terms of the sense of what it used to mean. Right?
Okay.
In the past, people used to court to find mates.
Yes.
And then they transitioned to this dating thing where you meet strangers and you gift them things based on some sort of entitlement, and thus it has turned into prostitution. And now we're in the all-out act of prostitution. So I don't date like that.
Yeah.
All right. I might go out and have a little fun and treat some women to some good times and all of that stuff with the expectation they're gonna rub my leg. All right. And that's the situation. And then they go home. Sometimes they might sleep over. I don't know what's going to happen. But there's an understanding that this is not going to
But the fact that you've been married, divorced, and have kids, and you've kind of gotten all that stuff out of the way, does that give you the freedom to be like, listen, go, please, come. I don't give a shit?
Which is an interesting point because a lot of men haven't been to that point. And then that's the curiosity. So if they hear me and I'm like, oh, do this, do that. And they're like, well, you already got your kids and you already married.
Yeah.
So I tell them, well, if that's the case, get leverage first. If I can give you a bit of advice, get leverage.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, a guy's going to pick the path that they got to figure out. Like your path is different from my path, is different from Pete's path, different from Ally's husband's path. Like I'm at the point now where now I'm in my early 40s. All my boys got married when they were in their late 20s, early 30s. And now they're starting to deal with the, well, I don't know, divorce, looking around, all that.
Yep.
And now I'm at the point where it's like, I want to, like, if I do ever get married, whether it's with the state or not the state, or whether there's a prenup or there's definitely a prenup, whatever. Like, I know that I want to have kids. I know that I want to have a family. I know that. Okay. So right now I'm going to a lot of JUCOs and kind of just seeing what's out there.
There you go.
But I don't want to be like, I don't want to get married in the next couple of years and then be that bitter divorcee in my 50s and be like, these fucking hoes out here. Like, I want to.
You're going to dude, I'm telling you, that itch that you have is going to set you up for failure. You know the statistics.
How do you mean, though?
Well, listen.
Yes.
We know the statistics, right? You already been married.
Yes.
You said 50% on the legal chart has been divorced, right? But then the second marriages are what?
Yeah, well,
what is it? 63%.
I wouldn't count the first one.
Yeah, that's right. If you hear what, if you hear the story off camera, it's a lot different.
Right. It's an agreement.
But two things I thought about, and I wanted to address what you said, and I want to also address another thing that you said. In regards to the Instagram thought comment, I just want to share about it briefly. It seems like it's very harsh words, but men use harsh words to describe very blunt behavior. right? And it may seem like he's insulting, but he's really describing what men genuinely feel. And like most guys, when they genuinely feel a woman half naked parading herself on the internet, there's not a level of wife. There's a level of for the night. That's how their brain thinks about short-term mating right now.
Yeah. Well, Aly, I showed you that video when I interviewed all those guys at the Male Excellence event, and they the conference from CME, and I asked them, "Would you marry an OnlyFans girl?" They're all like, "Hell no, for the night. She belonged to the streets. Hell no, fuck that. Maybe for the night, like whatever."
Right.
So, but you remember that?
I'm the anomaly.
So it's
exactly
it's a hurtful thing to hear him say it, but he's just describing an emotion that men feel. Yeah. And so I wanted to kind of, you know what I mean, make it's I'm
look
not
at
gonna
the fees and the coach on the same team.
Right. You agree? Hey, look, most of the stuff we talk about, we agree
of course,
with.
Of course, we're having fun. We're having fun. It's nothing but content. But to the second point is that's the thing with Coach, and I respect him a lot because I also have that Patrick Bet-David thing with marriage. Like I'm only getting married once. You know what I mean? Like worst case scenario, I'm with you in about 10 years. Go to Columbia. You know what I mean?
Sauce coach at that junior college.
But my thing was, if I'm gonna do it once, I want to do everything in my power to make it work. Yeah. Because Coach is blessed. Like I view fatherhood as the greatest gift in humanity. I'm not a dad yet. You know what I mean? Adam's not a dad. I know a lot of guys want to be dads. Yeah. So to me, I'm like, if you're going to be a dad, try to give your child the best life possible. And the best life possible, as Aly said, is that nuclear family, right?
Yeah, I believe in that.
Protect yourself. If you want to do the prenup, do the prenup. If you want to get leverage, as Coach talked about, get leverage. Protect yourself 100%. I'm not anti-protecting yourself. But my biggest thing is I know a lot of men want to be fathers. I know a lot of men want to be able to at least try to have a family. And my biggest thing is that if you're going to do it, get all the tools, not hope. As you said, hope is a bad strategy. Get all the tools, get all the wisdom, get advice from men who have been married successfully, who look at their wife like, oh, I want a woman like that in 30, 40, 50 years. Use that then to make your decision. And so my pushback is always, that's why I wasn't calling you a bitter man. I was saying that his experience, why would he want to get married again? He already has the kids. He already did the marriage thing. Yeah. Why would he? His whole worldview is different. But for most guys in your audience, in my audience, and I'm not sure your age demographics, 18 to 31, bro, they've never done any of this before.
Possibility.
You know?
They want that. It's a drive. It's a primal drive.
Exactly.
Related to that.
And Coach, and the reason why I'm so hard on men like Coach is that, like, Coach has all the wisdom in his brain. And I'm not saying you're not doing this, so I want to clarify. Like, men like Coach have all the wisdom in his brain to give guys the best plan possible. Since he's seen all the worst case scenario for marriage, he understands, if you don't have this, if you don't do this, he can create a healthy, amazing blueprint for men to never experience what he went through. And so to me, I want more of that. I want more content like that. I want more content setting men up for success because, like I said, the reason why America is the way it is, and everybody can attest to it, is not enough people are connected to their family and too many people are connected to the state. We need stronger families. We need men leading their families. We need men raising their sons. We have a whole generation of men like that 23-year-old guy who probably has no dad, which is why I love M.E.A.T. Shout out M.E.A.T. But he's having to call Adam for advice instead of going to his dad. And so to me, I think I'm so passionate about every man having the family that my father had, the family that Patrick had, and I'm consumed with it. I just want more information out there to help them get wise, protect yourself, get insurance, right? Obviously get insurance, but at the end of the day, pursue what is good and don't just fear worst case scenario.
The benefits and the side effects is what you're looking for.
Let that hope still live there and people to know that, it's possible. You can still live. Like, there are obviously things that can happen. And like you state, you should have protections in place for that. But I think to be so fear mongering and kill everyone's idea, or I shouldn't even say you, I should say the person to only consume that fear mongering, that putting that fear in you, this is destined to fail. It's 67%. So you might as well go ahead and just get it all in writing now because it's going to fail. Almost makes people not even have that drive to want to even pursue it. It scares them so much, which then puts a negative towards, it's not really a positive towards what your initiative, you're saying, and what most of our initiatives are, is to have more home fathers in the home and to kind of build those nuclear families. If people are scared, then that's not what's going to happen.
Well, to use a medical analogy, speaking of pills, taking pills, red pill, blue pill, essentially what you're establishing is like, look, Talk about the benefits too, homie, but also the side effects.
100%.
So don't just talk about the side effects. That's it. That's it. You're gonna.
You will get nausea.
Exactly. Right. As a nurse, she's a full-on nurse. Take her advice.
And most of the benefits typically are going to be seen as that guy has to put forth that benefit in order to receive the marriage, right? And so she's bringing something, and a lot of people understand that it takes two to tango. There's a yin and a yang, and but the guy has to gamble his benefits, and then he doesn't know what the result is. I actually can speak on that side, so that's what I show where a lot of people hide. They might hide that. Well, even his mother, hey, I just need some grandkids. And then when he gets divorced, you can't move in here, right? And so that guy's then left alone. I actually bring that type of reality.
Just to wrap this up, then I'm gonna turn it over to Nat. Chances you get married again?
Zero.
Not happening.
What if you become an exception to the rule?
Hold on.
What if you become an exception to the rule?
He's not. He's zero.
I'm the exception to the rule?
No.
If you become one.
No, I am the
You're saying zero. You're saying zero.
What are the chances? Wayne of this, baby.
What are the chances you have another kid?
Probably none. Slim to none, and Slim just died.
Okay, but you just to be clear, you're
dumb.
good officially, straight up on being a husband, but you love being a father. Like you love being
I love my kids, man. Let me tell you something, man. I love my kids.
Yeah.
I love that my ex-wife divorced me at the age that I was, because that was a beautiful gift. I appreciate her going off and doing that. But kids, love my kids, love my son, love my daughter.
Yeah,
and there will be a forever love there, and I hope men can experience. There's the hope. I hope men can experience that, because it's a very important.
I agree.
I love that.
I agree. Look at that.
I'm like, he has hope.
Hey, but one more thing. Let me add to this before they get excited. Let me get excited. Let me bring it back. Let me bring it all back.
Buddy Ryan.
Yeah. Let me get back on defense. She trying to get happy. Look at her. But look, one more thing is there are options for men other than marriage to have kids. And I present that. So a lot of people miss that, but there are some options.
Such
I know
as?
you're curious.
You don't want the drama with it.
There are surrogacies where you can you can actually have a whole family overseas, and people be like, well, my family's overseas, my child is overseas. And many times people that have children overseas, they see their kids more than a lot of men and fathers today see their kid. They live around the corner. Okay. So this is what's happening today. So there is an option.
That's another conversation.
That's a whole other conversation.
I think we can all agree on this panel. When Hafiz does have kids, those kids would be very lucky to have Hafiz as a dad.
He's going to be passionate about
100%.
that. 100%. Right?
All right, cool. Let's wrap this up. Nat, I know you got some super chats and you got some comments.
Yes.
Go for it. Rattle them off.
So I want to say thank you to everybody who gave us super chats and comments today. We appreciate it. We are going to go through the $20 and up one just because we have a lot and a little bit of limited time. So I'm going to read through them quickly. We have Karat Juice Podcast. Shout out to the notorious CGA, one of my favorite content creators, period. This man is wise beyond his years, masterful delivering the message in the way of entering and useful in these YouTube streets. Him got money.
These YouTube streets. I like that. Okay, keep it going, Nat.
Then we have Deja Charger. He wants to build a rocket. Cool. All right. And then we have another one. A question: are you scared of a little baby deli?
Belly. Don't skip that one. That's an inside joke.
Well, thanks for the comment. Got it. And then we have a few more. We say respect to Hafiz. I understand what he says, but right now the worst case scenario is almost only scenario that's happening. Stats speak. Then we have another one. Hafiz is hope strategist. Take care, brother. We have another one. Hafiz is right on this one. Lots of people suck in the red pill rage. We got to get people out of the mindset, but are not with a hope strategy.
Absolutely.
Then we have shuffling. She's shuffling. Trying to make you shuffle, coach. Hold the line. Then we have another one. Shout out to Hafiz in the building. Then
give their names too, so we get.
Yes, we have the contractor. We also had Dr. Durbin and the contractors in the chat today. And then we have another one that I just
missed them hundreds.
Skip. Yeah, well, we here we go. We have Zentinence, and I've been getting people to tell me to read this one, so let me read it for you. Being in a critical care daily life in the hospital is a microcosm of the dating market. Hypergamy is rampant, and the Holocaust doesn't have us as many bodies. No sane man should consider any similar woman, least she disrespects him via OnlyFans, grants, etc., etc. Then we have another one. I'm trying to get to these chats quick. Then we have another one. Where did it go? Right up here. Dun, 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 dun. Guilt by association is obviously a concept that has been understood or cared acknowledged. Thank you for leaving the noble profession. I'm in irrespective of income. I would die in service, and others rather disrespect family while leeching from weak men. Coach is a realist here. He must be protected. This dude is lathered. They ain't profit.
Who are these people?
This is Zentinence. He's going in the chat. Then we have Muzakai Sony. Coach is the realist here. He must be protected. That was him. And then we have down here, we have got Johnny Del Rome. Shout out to CGA, Coach Gang in the building. Then we have Uncle Luke 1980. CGA's been a supporter since 2018. You introduced me to Red Pill Space and became a FA. Do you think because of dating in the West is so messed up, men should travel overseas and meet traditional women?
Uncle
and
Luke
I love
1980.
it.
I like that.
Sorry, Aly, but if there's more men that have seen God's senior God's men as
more goods.
More goods. As the coach described, a hard cold truth. Coach, guest shuffling and the fire content. Please bring it back. The sweetie has been buzzer. And those are the super chats that we have for that are $20 and up. So thank you guys all for those super chats.
Respect. Thank you guys for the super chats. We got a lot today. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Listen, this is the end of the show here, gentlemen and ladies. And this is where we give you guys the opportunity to basically look in the camera and tell everybody what's up, what you want them to know, what you got going on. This is what we call the happy ending, okay? So ladies first, you have a happy ending. Aly, your camera's right there. Go ahead, look at the camera. You have a bunch of people watching. Let them know what you got going on, what you need them to know, or what message you want to convey to the world.
Well, little you may know about me is I'm also a big craft beer lover. So if you love craft beer or you don't yet, I'll make you fall in love with it, I promise. You can check out Tap That with Aly Rae. I'm not going to use this opportunity. Well, I'm going to promote Wetspace. Wetspace is a crypto adult platform where you can consume content anonymously, which I'm sure everyone up here just hates. And so that's definitely something I have going on. Otherwise, you can find me at onlyalyrae.com. It has links to all my socials.
Love that. Hafiz, dude, you're on fire today, so respect.
Appreciate
I've never seen you this fired up. I've seen you fired up, but not this fired up.
Yeah.
So what's going on?
It's because when I do interviews, I have a different kind of temperament. You know what I mean? I'm more in my Barbara Walters, Larry King kind of bag. But this is my natural personality.
I love this bag.
I'm more of a. That's why with the standard I do a lot more like public speaking. Like I love just being passionate and just like really like giving men these hardcore speeches. And I'm really grateful to be here with you, Coach. I think what men need to do, and I hope is that they listen to you and they listen to me and they find out what benefits their life the most. Yeah. And I think we need more. And I told when I sat down with AMS, with Fresh and Fit, with anybody on the red pill type of content, like what we need is more men conversing with one another. Too many times on the internet, they demonize each other, they call each other names, they're disrespectful. But to be able to have these conversations, to be able to benefit men is extremely powerful. So I want to thank you so much for coming out and being a part of this.
Good to meet you in person, man. It's always good to meet these people.
Of course.
Respect. Where can the people find you, Hafiz?
Yeah, my biggest thing is that currently on the Roommates channel, I don't do as much content with that because I'm working on different projects right now. But I tend to drop a podcast here and there on the Roommates channel. So at the end of the day, I think my message to the guys is that it doesn't matter what I say, doesn't matter what Adam says, Aly, Coach Greg. It's about you figuring out what kind of life you want to live and finding men who are currently there. So ask yourself at 55, at 60, at 70, where do I want to be? What kind of life do I want to live? And find men who are there. Emulate them. Doesn't matter what I say. Find those guys who are like that and then be able to reverse engineer your life to get there. My goal is always for men to win, to be successful, to live happy lives and be God-fearing men. So find those guys, follow those guys, and live the best life that God has created for you.
Respect. Coach, take us home, baby. We're in the fourth quarter.
Man, here we go.
Let's go. We're not going to overtime, Coach.
No overtime,
Let's
man.
get a W right now.
There. You now have experienced the notorious CGA. I'm the Bruce Wayne of this right here, the king of content right here, the speaker of truth. Appreciate you, man. You can find me at the Free Agent Lifestyle channel, the Coach Greg Adams channel, and all over YouTube, spreading this message that men need. And listen, I know a lot of people think that this is a very tough exterior, but when you're a defensive coordinator, you got to be tough and you got to train your men to be tough. We are really going out here with misinformation, so I bring another bit of information in. In reality, I do know that people can believe that I'm bitter and hurt and all of that stuff, but the funny thing is, don't we live in a sympathetic or empathetic society? Don't we want to stress mental health for men? All right? Don't we care about men? Apparently we don't, because people just make those assessments without really reaching in and diving into what I'm talking about here. We're preparing men. I want more masculine men out here. I want more fathers taking care of their kids out here, but we don't want people interrupting that flow through feelings and things like that because she's not happy and divorces you. And a lot of men lose out on their kids and making an imprint on their kids' life based on that decision alone. So if you think this is hurt or bitter, get with this program and follow me. You might learn something around here. The Bruce Wayne of this is.
Love that.
Working that, Cam.
Here's what I'll say is that, I'm a big sports guy. I played college football, love basketball, the whole thing. You got to have defense. You got to have offense. You got to have someone good on the bench rooting for you. You know what I'm saying?
Got some cheerleaders out there in tight uniforms. All right.
I completely appreciate, I have one of my business partners, people that I do business with. When I came into the business, I was 26. Everyone in the financial industry, I'm saying the guys who are my mentors, all 10, 20 years older than me. Absolutely. A lot of them been divorced. A lot of them were making millions of dollars. A lot of them had to give half their shit away. So I do understand the reality of what's going out there, of why you do need to kind of be on your defense, keep your guard up, especially as you get more successful. So I 100% appreciate the Buddy Ryan defensive approach. And you're coming from a place, like Hafiz said, you've experienced that. So you're speaking from experience. At the same time, I could completely appreciate what Hafiz is saying is look, it's not all side effects out there. There's a lot of benefits to being a very capable, loving, happy relationship, God-fearing relationship. There's tons of benefits. Can we please talk about the freaking fucking benefits, not just the side effects? So I'm kind of using that as an offensive approach rather than defense, but it's very true. But I think we can all hope, whether you're married, dating, relationship, to have a lovely woman that's in your corner that's giving you what you need, wink, wink, every single day. That's a beautiful damn thing out there. That's a beautiful
thing, yeah.
So, and it only happens genuinely if you become a man of status. And status is wealth, looks, personality, game, charm, looking debonair, suave, having your game on point, having your beard on point, even if it's gray, respect. And that's how you can get basically the woman of your dreams and basically the life of your dreams. So anyway, I appreciate you guys being here. This has been an awesome, spirited, amazing conversation. Love to have all three of you guys back again. If you haven't subscribed to Valuetainment or Valuetainment Money, we do this every day, baby. Whether it's PBD Podcast, my show, Jedediah, Vinny's show, VT, we got it all going on over here. So subscribe. We're here for you. And by the way, how much do we charge for people to watch this show?
Nothing.
Motherfucking nothing, okay? So save that money, subscribe, and thank you guys for being here. We'll see you guys tomorrow with beautiful Natalia, and I will be hosting a show. Aww. And we're having Sadia Khan on, the most beautiful girl I think on internet is going to be via Zoom. I've got a lot to say about that. But we'll see you guys tomorrow, Friday, 4 p.m. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to all their channels out there. We'll see you guys later. Peace out. Valuetainment.